Mythos Busters, investigating the mystery, monsters, and madness of Arkham Horror, the card game.
Hello and welcome to episode 40 of Mythos Busters, where tonight we're going to bless the rains down in Central America. That was low effort. I'm not really happy with that, but we're going to keep it anyway. I'm Sean, and joining me tonight is the full crew. We've got Nick. Hi, Nick.
Hi, I think that's a subtitle for our show in general is, that's low effort.
Yeah, that's on brand.
That's fair enough. And our brand manager, Ian. Hi, Ian.
Oh, hi, I've been promoted already. That's what that Employee of the Month award will get you.
And CTO and Special Officer in charge of Sundry, Scott. Hi, Scott.
Hi, I prefer the assistant to the brand manager. No, I'll take the Sundry one.
We're going to have to get you a new nameplate, though, because we had to get you, like, the extra long nameplate holder to hold your title. Come on. There was effort put in there.
That was like an old cookie sheet from your kitchen. You just carved into.
Guys, it makes me so happy. Makes me so happy that you guys are taking to the Mythos Busters offices so dearly now.
It was a slow burner, but
but it's paying off.
Yeah. You know, since I got the corner office, I don't really care. So
the funny thing is, there are 4 corner offices, and we're all in them. And there's just like, we record from our own offices, and then there's just a bunch of empty space between us, a bunch of unused office space floor. So
does Tom just have a penthouse above us all?
Oh, yeah. Tom has direct access to the helicopter pad.
Oh.
Tom's got, like, remote access to all of our computers from his phone, too. Which is barely a joke. Alright, so tonight we've got a really fun episode in store. We've got a little bit of catch-up. We're going to announce the winners of our Forgotten Age contest, so we can get those sent out, because I'm sure people who entered are anxious to get their hot little hands on it. And then we've got or at least I hope it's going to be really fun. I think this is the first time in a good long while that, like, we had, like, a legit, like, oh my god, so exciting conversation in our mod chat about a discussion topic specifically. We're going to do the first couple steps of really, we're just going to be making our own custom scenario and kind of walking through what that might look like. We, I don't know, honestly, what the community reaction was to our episode where we kind of did custom scenario ones, where we each brought our own idea, but I really enjoyed that brainstorming. It's something I don't get to do very often, so I'll be leaning on Ian and Nick again pretty hard to get us through that, because this is going to be a co-op effort.
The responses that I got from that episode, which I was going to look up which episode that was and I forgot, have been all positive. So that was one of the few episodes that 1 or 2 listeners actually reached out to me and said they really enjoyed it. So I think that we're safe doing custom stuff every now and again, even though that's not, quote unquote, like Arkham official stuff. So.
I know. I also love the fact that I don't think there's been any point in the history of the game where we've had such a deluge of content within a short window of time. And this is the episode where, like, hey, let's go do something else. Screw getting caught up.
Hey guys, I heard you like content. Here's more.
All right, so let's get this sucker kicked off. Nick, what we got going on in the community?
Yeah, so the community, I just wanted to highlight one thing in the community. It's a relatively small thing, but I just noticed it in that someone created custom mini cards for the supplies that you can purchase in the Forgotten Age. So, at the beginning of the campaign, you can buy supplies, and then those have effects throughout the campaign, especially for your expedition. Well, someone went and made miniature cards to represent those physically, so that you can actually have a card to show that you have binoculars or the map or something. And then they have the text on there reminding you exactly what it does. So it's another component, that kind of sits on a board that's already full of components, most of which are card-based.
But I thought it was pretty cool. Room.
Exactly. That's pretty much where I sat. I thought it was cool that someone took the time to put these together and then shared them on Board Game Geek. So you can find the link in our show notes, and I'm posting it to our Discord right now. So there you go.
And I will say tangentially, because we haven't mentioned it in a while, but if you are somewhat new to the game or just haven't checked out the BGG files section on the Arkham Horror website, well, it's actually on the BGG website, the Arkham Horror section in the files is technically the correct structure. But if you haven't checked that out, I'd highly recommend it. There are some really cool things that people have done, anywhere from custom scenarios to playmat templates to things like this. It's pretty cool to just peruse.
Mm-hmm.
Now, on the cards where they say what they do, does it just say exactly what you don't need right now? You should have picked something else?
Nah, I didn't look at all of them. I looked at the binoculars, and it was basically just the campaign guide text.
Because that's how I felt my first playthrough. Was like, I got all this stuff. It does nothing.
I was smart. Tiny mechanical spoiler for Untamed Wilds, but I picked up the map, and I was very happy that I picked up the map as Ursula in Untamed Wilds. So I haven't seen anything else really come to bear yet, but that was the one that I was like, ooh, that was a smart purchase.
The map is uber effective in that scenario, it turns out.
Have any of you guys taken the pendant that says
No, I've never had the
we
point to
skipped
spare
it.
yet.
I have taken it with Mateo just because I was like tickled by it and he had one supply point left, and I'll laugh so hard if it ends up being like the key item at the end.
It just made me think of, I think it was the first Dark Souls. There was you get to pick your gift when you create your character, and there are special items that give you a bonus or do something different in the game world, and one of them was a necklace that the community could not figure out what it was for and what it would do, because like some of them are really obscure, surprising, it's Dark Souls. And then the game developer came out, or the director came out, and he said, if I were choosing, I would pick that necklace every single time. And people were like, what does it do? And then sometime after Dark Souls 2 came out, he was like, oh yeah, that didn't do anything. So,
Nice.
So that's just what I think of when I see the pendant. I just think of that.
Yeah.
Well, we will see. I don't know. Guys, speaking of Deluge, I am so far behind on my Arkham. Yeah. I took a vacation to Colorado, and then everything released. Mm-hmm. So I got a new box for Lord of the Rings. We got Threads of Fate, and now I just picked up Return to the Night of the Zealot today. So I am so bloody far behind. On top of that, I had again been just doggedly pursuing the idea that I need to actually finish all my Carcosa campaigns. I almost got there. But we at a certain point, I'm like, all right, the first Mythos pack is already out. I need to drop this. So we're neck deep in the old Forgotten Age now. So anyway,
spoiler alert: they all went insane. So there you go. Now you're done.
There's Carcosa.
Damn. Okay, so I suppose let's do the wrap up of the Forgotten Age contest since we're already talking about it. So first thing I want to do is thank everyone who took the 5 minutes it took, presumably, to call in and enter. This sort of thing, it was kind of my vision for what the hotline could do. So, if you enjoy content like this, please consider next time that we put a question out or discuss something, please just consider taking 5 minutes, calling in, giving us your opinion. This is a really cool way that we can interface with the community. We kind of, I'll be honest with you guys, our social media presence has more or less died just because I'm off of Facebook almost entirely as a person and no one else wants to pick up the slack. So if you want to interact with us either on our Discord or with the hotline is the best way to do it. So again, thank you to everyone who entered, and please in the future, everyone, it's not a big deal. You can take multiple takes if you want. Call in, talk to us. So what I'll do here is I'll go ahead and play the entries, and we can... what I did is I spliced them together and gave us a little bit of space so we can make little comments in between. And then at the end, we'll do a couple random drawings for the winner. Sound like a plan?
Mm-hmm.
Sounds good.
Hello, Mythos Busters. My name is Patrick, and I live in Massachusetts. My favorite term that I've come up with, me and my group have come up with while playing Arkham, is Scooby-Dooing. That's when someone is being a dodge tank and running around a room and the monster's just, ineffectually chasing them while everyone else frantically investigates or tries to dig around for that 45 to kill the damn thing. Anyway, thanks for putting on an awesome podcast, and hope you guys have a good one. Bye.
Wendy's really good at Scooby-Dooing, right?
That is a perfect description of what that is.
Yes.
Hey guys, how you doing? I love the show. Not sure what the date is there. It's might be June 16th where you guys are, but it's still June 15th where I am, and I'd like to submit what my playgroup uses for slang. So for Duke, we call Duke Scooby, and whenever you
I see a theme.
use Duke's ability to investigate an adjoining room, we say, I'm going to toss a Scooby snack into set location, and then Duke does his thing. So yeah, that's ours. You know, Duke's ability is a Scooby snack, and we toss a Scooby snack into the adjoining location and execute. Anyways, love the show. You can call me Pop.
That cut off abruptly because then Pops gave us his full address. I figured I'd spare him that one.
Yeah, good idea.
Julius here with an entry for the contest on nicknames we use for things. And I guess we call the game Arkham Horror LCG, even though it's actually called Arkham Horror TCG. That just seems like a really confusing name since it's an
Agreed.
LCG, not a TCG. So we call it Arkham Horror LCG. So that makes more sense. Why did they call it an LCG?
There's so much cheek in that entry.
Because the game is dying. No. Good evening, Mythos Busters. My name is Chad. I live in St. Paul, Minnesota.
Minnesota
and,
represent!
in response to your, weird, unique thing that your group does, or joke that they have, we don't really have any puns or nicknames, but my fiance and I play the game as a date night game, and we've gotten in the habit that every upkeep we just melodically say, everyone gets a resource and a card, just every time, and it's kind of caught on whenever we play it with other people that everyone else just kind of joins in, and it's a really light and upbeat thing that after all the terrible things that Mythos sends at you, and all the monsters you fight, and the allies you lose, it's just like everyone just takes a moment to breathe and just have a smiling moment where everyone gets a resource and a card.
Oh, he didn't sing it
Enjoy
again.
listening to you guys. Thank you for the work that you do. You Take actually care. draw cards then get resources? So
This is what I can get
Destroyer of
behind.
worlds.
You guys will be hearing me do this when we play from now on. Just FYI. Hey, everyone.
Hey guys, just calling in about the contest. As far as things we say in our play group, Solo, Duke, and Duke gets run a lot. Well, I guess I should say Ash can, but they get run a lot in our group. And so Ash can plus Dark Horse, when activated, is true hobo mode. So once you run out of your funds and you get your bonuses, hobo mode is activated. Anyway, this is Johnny from Texas, and that's our term. Thanks.
I like the idea of like a fighting game energy bar that fills up as you lose resources.
Super.
Hey, my name's David from northern Utah. We call the Elder Thing token the squid guy, the squid token. Just a simple little nickname we gave it. My hardcore Lovecraft friend always gets mad at me whenever I call it that.
Well, Elder Thing is such a generic term,
Every
really.
group's got that guy.
Hey guys, this is Kyle from Rochester, New York. I'm new to Discord with the name KM Crit. Our group's newest nickname was for Hastur.
Nope.
We started calling him Hamster to avoid the horror that Carcosa can give you
I like
for
that.
saying his name in the playing of the game. Well, I hope you guys enjoy it and start making those gifts of Hamster in the robes of yellow.
Yes, I want that.
Have a good one. Bye-bye.
We need gifts of that.
I smell an Aldart card.
Hey, my name is Yitz. I'm from Baltimore, and I've been using Rex's School of Curses, Clues, and Card Drafting. It's working fairly well. Thanks for the contest. Talk to y'all soon. Bye.
That must be Higher Ed Rex. Huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Hey guys, this is Joseph from Huntsville, Alabama. This is a call-in for the Forgotten Age contest. My term is Dagon sickness, which is when one player gets greedy, starts making decisions that are detrimental to the group for the sake of extra victory points.
Sean.
Like delving at a bad time, or collecting clues instead of killing the monster engaged with another investigator. Thanks for your time.
I've never done that
I think
ever.
we all I think we all suffer from that at some point.
Yeah.
Hey, how's it going? I hope that I'm not too late because I know the competition ends today. But I have 2 submissions for you. I have, of course, got Jiz Mulligan and our best boy.
Is that him laughing at his own joke?
Dick Luca.
No, I think...
Thanks so much. And I hope you hear back. This has been Dick Sober Dunwich.
It sounded like he had at least one friend cackling in the
Dick's
background.
over Dunwich? What?
I missed everything else other than Jiz Mulligan.
You got everything you needed.
More than that.
Otherwise known as StarKing177 on the Discord. I was playing Miskatonic Museum. I had a reliable upgrade on my flashlight so that my Leo Anderson could investigate at 6. He proceeded to move to a museum location and pull tentacle, tentacle, tentacle. So the flashlight is now the tentacle finder. Have a good one. Keep up the good work with the podcast. Bye.
I have that monogrammed on a glove, by the way.
Tentacle finder.
Oh my.
The funny thing is when that guy said, I hope I'm not too late, I know it ends today, I just wanted to be like, too late, and just stop stop playing it right there. But no, he earned his space. That's Jiz Mulligan is great.
Star King's thing about the tentacle finder just makes me think of one of my friends in my playgroup. Whenever you draw the tentacle like multiple times, there's a bunch of enemies, he always says, I've seen this hentai before.
All right, guys. So let's draw for some winners. Yeah, we got 2 boxes. So let's do it. Can someone bring up an RNG? Nick?
Sure. Just a sec.
GM of my life. Do you have a D20 handy?
I don't, but I have Google.
Is a D20
I have
holster.
my wife's dice here.
Yes.
How? Okay. How many entrants were there? 20?
Slightly less than 20, so it should still work.
Well, he needs to know when he has to re-roll.
Yeah, I will be able to tell him.
Okay. Okay, what's the max, Sean? Just give me a number. Because I have my generator up.
12. It's fine. D12 would cover us.
Oh.
All right.
Okay, I have a giant D20, and you guys will probably hear it roll, so...
Do you have a D12?
Oh, was it 12?
Well,
It's
I
12,
determined that
apparently.
a 12 would get us by. Because there's a couple, extra slots in here.
Yeah, I got 12. And it's a giant
Okay.
D12 as well. So, all right, first one.
Jesus Christ. I think we lost Scott again.
Oh,
Did you just...
the die roll
Did you
knocked
throw
me
your
off the
chair
internet.
across the room?
I just pictured the boulder from Indiana Jones.
All right, rolled an 8.
An 8. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Our man Julius is our first winner.
Nice.
Julius throwing shade at the mixed marketing of Arkham Horror, the card game, a living card game by Fantasy
Let's
Flight
be
Games.
honest. He earned it.
Arkham Horror, the core game, which is a living card game.
You know, I've thought about throwing that in, but I feel like so few people actually get the reference. All right, let's go.
I'm glad that you're not.
All right.
Roll number 2.
Second roll.
Go.
That sounded worse.
It was a 7.
By Thor's beard. A 7. And that would be Joseph from Alabama. So Julius and Joseph will be getting in contact with you probably. We have your phone number, so I'm going to try to text them. I didn't think this through entirely. But somehow we'll get a hold of you. And if you... What?
I was going to say, that's the sound of a confident man.
Yeah.
So, as a failsafe, if I don't manage to get a hold of you by the time this episode is released, you guys won. Contact me in Discord and we'll work out the details.
There you go, put the onus on them.
Yep. Feel free to poke us often.
All right. So then let's move on to our regularly scheduled items. I'm sorry. First, one last item of business to get out of the way. Quick reminder to all attending Gen Con about the Mythos Busters listener event. I believe tickets are still sold out. Ian, confirm?
I can in a second. Hold, please.
Even if there are any available now, who knows what'll happen by the time this releases. So my point being, even if you don't get a ticket, feel free to come say hi. We've got some fun swag lined up this year. I think you guys are going to dig it. And we should hopefully have some extras to give out to those without tickets. So come say hi. And Ian, time, place, do we have those assigned yet?
We do have the place assigned, but again, one moment, please. Okay.
Oh, sure.
Okay, I have it up now. So it is sold out still. Place is gonna be, this means nothing for you unless you go to Gen Con, but it's in ICC, which is the big hall, Hall B. We're gonna be orange tables, 36 to 42. And we'll also post that in places that it's actually easier to refer to when it gets closer to Gen Con.
Yes, and as a reminder, anyone who's going to Gen Con, whether or whether not you're coming to our event, please feel free to come to our Discord and use the Gen Con 2018 chat to meet up with Arkham people, or just chat with Arkham people, share cool things. You know, it's just kind of our Gen Con-centric channel for kind of the rest of the Discord to stay plugged in if they want to as well. I remember a couple people who were sitting at home kind of keeping track of things, so that's kind of fun, I imagine. Is that... Go ahead, Nick. I heard you breathe in.
Oh, wow. I need to turn my mic sensitivity down. I just wanted to reiterate, I know you mentioned it, but I just want to reiterate it, that the tickets are, all they do is they guarantee you swag. Like, if you're listening and you don't have a ticket, please still come. Like, if you're going to be there, please still show up. We still want to hang out with you. We still want to, play a game with you if we can. But you just may not / are not guaranteed swag if you don't have a ticket. And that's really all that means. So,
and as a final reminder / pro tip to everyone who's going to Gen Con and wants to play Arkham in general at anything other than the Fantasy Flight events, bring a scenario or two.
Yeah.
Turns out last year everyone assumed everyone else would bring the scenarios and it got weird, so just everyone have like one in the chamber and we should be good to go depending on what everyone wants to play. And then I suppose it probably bears a quick little discussion on how to prepare for Gen Con, right? Like, what should people bring? How should they deck build? That sort of thing. So Ian, Nick, you guys have both done this before. Any hot tips you guys would offer?
I brought 3 investigators at various experience levels.
Nick highly recommends bringing a 49 XP deck.
Yeah.
Hey, Roland at 49 XP performed beautifully, so, yeah. No, I would just, 3 seems to be a good number. Like, if you're in a 4-player game and the other 3 players only brought 1 investigator and they're all the ones that you have, well, then find a different group and you'll be fine. But 3 investigators is good, and then maybe have 1 levels. Are you planning on doing campaign seems a little out of the realm of realism, so I think bringing standalone decks in general would be safest.
I mean, unless you're pre-planning it, I don't see anyone being able to actually pound out a campaign at Gen Con.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right, yeah.
It's not really that kind of place.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I tend to bring... I think I brought 3 investigators as well, so just don't bring... I mean, if you have to, bring 1, but it's better to have multiple in case there's conflict. Someone else is playing your investigator. I also tend to bring... I do this for both Lord of the Rings and Arkham, is bring, a small pile of, sideboard cards that are just, in case I want to switch out something for whatever reason. Just whatever cards seem useful. And then the final thing I'll say is if you really want to cheese things... keep in mind those investigators whose weaknesses don't do anything in standalone mode, like Jenny and Roland. Their original weaknesses anyway. That actually gives you more space if you want to go higher XP and get another weakness, because the old weakness doesn't do anything really.
All it does is eat up that draw, I suppose.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, and then, of course, after our event on Saturday night at 8 p.m. to ? We always close out the night there, so it's available to you pretty late. We're going to be doing Gen Con After Dark at the Slippery Noodle, just a few short blocks walk from the event center. I said Evention Center first. That's not quite a word, is it? And, oh man, we've got some fun stuff going this year. We've got... greater variety of beers in our custom flight than we've had in the past, and we're also talking about doing an Arkham specific shot that anyone can order if they want to get real silly with us. So anyway, that is 8 p.m. to, I don't know, we left at 2 last time, so pretty late.
Yeah.
At the Slippery Noodle. Bring light games, bring your brotherly love, your sisterly love, bring your just your desire to unwind and have a really great time at the last night of Gen Con. It's always a great time. I'm so looking forward to it. Like, things are becoming so real for Gen Con this time of year. Like, are we basically a month away?
Oh my God, are we?
Basically a month away.
Yeah, my badge
right,
came
it's
in
the
the mail today.
First week of August. Oh my God.
Yeah, I should probably make sure I get that time requested off, huh?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I got that a while ago. Also, if you're going to be at the After Dark event and you see Brandon there, former host of Cardboard of the Rings, make sure that you ask him about his perfect podcast idea, specifically about cryptocurrency. Be sure to sit him down and talk to him about that. So,
Nick, I don't know if you've been following cryptocurrency at all, but it took a giant dive recently, so Brandon has kind of stopped.
Oh my God, is he okay?
Well, he's all right.
Okay.
I don't know about his wallet, but he's seemed to survive.
Oh, man. No, all I know is that I was sitting down with him just trying to unravel his used car salesman jargon for like 45 minutes.
Well, what was really funny about it is then he was like, oh yeah, he was like trying to recruit us to, do a podcast about him with it because he was about to quit Cardboard of the Rings. Like, dude, I don't know word one about cryptocurrency. I know what Bitcoin is. That is it. Anyway. Also ask him to play Happy Salmon. That will always end well.
Yeah. As long as he have
one of those will end better for you than the other.
Yeah.
All right. So, guys, any recent play stories you want to share? Like I said, I don't have a whole lot going on. I'm just kind of getting back into the swing of things. One thing I will say, that I'm happy to say, Silas is a goddamn monster. And he's real fun to play. Have any of you guys seriously tried him yet?
Yes.
I have not. I don't have him yet.
Oh, yeah, that's right. God, poor Nick. We need to hook you up with those novellas when they come out sooner. I keep forgetting that you don't have an FLGS that gets them for you.
No.
Anyway, Silas, amazeballs. Ian, concur?
Yes. Yeah, I'm playing him with Mateo, which the duo is interesting. I think I made some mistakes in building Mateo's deck, but on the Silas side, he's definitely super strong.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
My first go with him was when I went on vacation. I just took a couple standalones because I just go to bed way later than everyone else. So I assumed there was going to be some time where, I had some time. So I brought sorry, I got distracted by the door knocking. I brought a Min deck to pair with Silas, and that Silas deck was kind of centered around Yaddle. Yes, Black Horror. He was Yaddle in Silas is awesome. So yeah, they absolutely tore through the solo campaign for Labyrinths of Lunacy. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, his Elder Sign ability is just so good, especially like in conjunction with Resourceful. You're just recurring all these things. Somehow I managed to escape out of Doom of Esley, which people who've played that know how hard that can be. I had no idea how I was able to do it, because I just basically, like, each turn I had to evade an enemy and move a location, so it was like painfully slow to escape. But the main reason I was able to do it was because I drew Silas's Elder Sign a couple times, once using Mateo's ability, and I was using Resourceful and that to recur Fight or Flight. I think I played it like 3 or 4 times in a row, and so he's evading at like 8 each time. So yeah, clutch.
He's remarkably flexible, way more so than I thought just first looking at him. Like, he's got 2s in willpower and intellect. The current campaign I'm running is him with Finn, and Silas has gotten almost, over the course of the campaign, Silas has gotten as many clues as Finn, if not more. Like, the ability, because I'm also kind of going, I have the desperate traits, or the desperate skills in there. I have Desperate Search and Say Your Prayers. So basically, once I have Yaddle out, and I have 2 flares in my deck to make sure that happens ASAP, you can commit a Desperate Search. If you need it to pass the test, great, it goes away. You can Yaddle the next test and get another +4. If you pass anyway, because I'm playing Dark Horse in this build too, so it happens from time to time, you can pull it back to your hand and get yet another use out of it. Resourceful, which you guys were talking about this on the Calvin episode last time. that is a cornerstone Survivor card to me now. I don't know where everyone else sits on it, but that card is just ridiculous. And like Ian said, with Silas and that Elder Sign ability, like, I think I played 4 Look What I Founds. It was amazing. So anyway, real fun. I was happy to see that because, like I mentioned last time, Silas was one of the first characters that I really took a shine to back in Eldritch Horror days. Anyone else playing anything? Oh, sorry, go ahead, Nick.
I was going to say, so would we say that he is like tier 1 investigator, like could give Rex a run for his money, or not quite that consistent?
I don't think he can specialize that hard.
Okay.
But I do think he plays a much more rounded game than I would have expected just from looking at him at first. The fact that he can take, off-class innate skills is really helpful. And, I mean, let's be fair, Survivor just has some really cool tricks that he's able to leverage.
So would you say that he is a pretty strong solo investigator?
That I cannot confirm. I would be a little afraid to take him through a campaign because the first couple scenarios where you're trying to get this combo set up could be a little rough. Like, Finn carried in the first scenario for clues.
Oh, okay.
It was after Yaddle came into play that all of a sudden Silas can just get like 6 intellect every other turn.
I see. Okay, interesting.
But yeah, he's real fun. Ian, what you playing?
Well, my Arkham time has been a bit short in supply compared to usual just because of various things.
Do they rhyme with Schmerled Shmup?
Yep, that combined with the Lord of the Rings expansion coming out. And
whatnot. Oh yeah, there's that too.
What I have played though is I was talking about Silas and Mateo. I'll talk about the Mateo half of it. Like I said, I think I made some mistakes in deck building, which the main one was not including Rite of Seeking. Because I was thinking I was going to go with Shriveling, and I wanted to try out Mist, but it was a big mistake. But they've still been successful. They haven't lost any of the scenarios, so I guess I can't complain too much. And the main thing I want to say is that Mateo is a lot better and more entertaining than I first thought. I know a lot of people, when they first saw him spoiled, were like, well, he has a once per game ability, so how kind of useful is that, and how much does that really make him feel distinctive if you only get an ability you can use once?
Which calls into question whether those people have actually played Arkham Horror the card game before.
But I would argue his ability has saved my game at least once, possibly twice. Turning that tentacle to an Elder Sign was huge. Yeah, actually, I think it was twice, because that popped up in both Untamed Wilds and Doom. And then I also used his 5 XP on an initial copy of Seal of the Elder Sign. And then he also has his own asset. So you're basically talking about 3 guaranteed Elder Signs, one of which is conditional, of course, his ability. You have to draw a tentacle. But those 3 things combined, you really... It opens up some decisions of when you're going to use them, obviously, but it also is... I don't know, it just gives you the opportunity of choosing when you pass key tests, and then also his Elder Sign ability happens to be really good, so you get the bonuses from that too. So
that's like Survivor levels of redundant insurance.
Yeah. So I haven't tried him solo yet, but at least in two-handed, it was a ton of fun, and yeah, I recommend trying Mateo. He might surprise you.
Go
ahead, Nick.
I was just going to ask another open-ended question. Is Mateo one that we would consider better than most at expert difficulty?
I would say no.
Okay.
Only because you still have, like, the -8, which Mateo just... It's like...
Oh, I suppose.
Yeah.
I'm just reading, because I haven't really looked at him yet. I'm just reading his card again now, so yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. One I've been playing recently, I've played two-handed for like the first time in a while, and I tried a combo of Roland with Jim, and I made a super controlly Jim.
They are a good combo.
Yeah,
yes, they are.
Like using all the things that seal, and so I just I even out the bag real nice, and then I just let Roland go ahead and do his stuff.
Yep.
I really like the idea of a Jim Yeah, super control-y, and I think it'd be even better at higher player numbers. Like, I would totally take a super control Jim to a 4-player game and just be like, guys, all I'm gonna do is lock down all the bad tokens and just let you
sit
guys
here and meditate.
Yeah, essentially, and get like level 2 wards of protection so I can protect you from the encounter deck too. Like, oh man, it's. I was really down on Jim for the longest time. And now that he's gotten a few more tools to kind of make the bag his, it's fantastic.
And also St. Hubert's Key.
Well, yeah. Yeah, super fun. And then using, what's that secret card? The one that lets you search.
No Stone Unturned?
No Stone?
Yes. Yes, that one. That was super awesome. To find the tools you need, or the trumpet. As well.
Yeah, or the trumpet.
Yeah.
Oh, right, yeah.
Jim with trumpet, like we always said, is very different from Jim without trumpet. So just a little bit more searching. Amazing.
Yep, agree. No Stone Unturned has been like an auto include in all my Jim decks since it came out, unless I have a good reason not to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it just makes such a difference. So I think then we're to Scott. What have you been playing?
Exactly what I just told you.
Anything else?
He had a segue already going, and Sean just backed up.
Sorry, I have like notes, and I'm like counting down on my fingers here, and like my finger didn't automatically adjust.
Yeah. No, Roland and Jim through Carcosa. And it's been pretty good. I mean, Roland is decent at Carcosa, but he does only have the 5 sanity.
Right.
But with the few sanity soaks that Garnia's gotten, and Jim controlling the bag, is a lot easier for Roland to get through tests he needs to get through, so he doesn't, bite the bullet kind of thing. So, a great combo.
Well, and Jim is also set to heal horror pretty well too. So
they're a great pair for Carcosa. I'm finding.
Mm-hmm.
But it really is Jim sitting in the background and Roland literally doing 90% of the work. So,
well, that's the way to go. That's how control decks work, right?
Yep.
It turns out Roland is just good at playing the game. Like, that's his strength, is he plays Arkham really well. Because he's got blue and yellow, He doesn't need tricks, he just
can
plays
play good cards.
Yeah, he does all the tests, and Jim just keeps him safe.
Yep.
He's like a monkey on his back, and he's just like, there, Roland, there, petting his hair.
See, I always imagine more like a Yoda backpack situation. Like, I literally have that Min deck I built called Backpack Min, even though there's no backpack in it.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was a cool story. Nick, what have you been playing?
The only game that I played, Laura and I played the first scenario of Forgotten Age, and it went terribly. So we are going to replay the first scenario of Forgotten Age, not making any deck changes. We're doing Leo. She's Leo, and I'm Ursula. And we had a really strong start that just slowly snowballed away from us. So we're gonna go at it again with a little bit of a better idea of how to play the scenario, and then once we get through that, then we will probably continue like keeping our blind run resolutions. But that one just didn't feel good by the end of it. So, and also I'm finding that I care less and less about my blind run resolutions. So, and then solo, I built a Calvin solo deck. And ran him through the Knight of the Zealot, the OG Knight of the Zealot, vanilla Knight of the Zealot. And it worked. It didn't, succeed with flying colors. But he did have trouble in Devour Below, but that scenario is just a considerable uptick in difficulty from Midnight Masks. He got 3 cultists in Masks, and he got all the victory points in Gathering. He's a lot of fun. Like, he's a lot of fun. And not only that, but I noticed that a lot of the most popular Calvin deck lists don't include Smoking Pipe and Pain Pills, or whatever they're called. So I decided to run those just to see how they would work. I never got the pills out, but I did get the Smoking Pipe out in 2 of the 3 games. And that was very helpful because I was taking more horror as I was going than damage. So the Smoking Pipe... Wait, is that... Yeah, that is the one. That would help me, like, right before a combat test, I would just flip, use a Smoking Pipe, turn one of my horror into damage. Suddenly I got a +1 to my combat. So that was nice. But yeah, solo Calvin is doable. I don't think he's amazing, but he's doable. So
yeah,
and that's it for me.
I really like Calvin solo and multiplayer.
Oh yeah, that's the thing is like if there was just one other person, like he would have been so much more consistent. Like it would have been so much easier.
Yeah.
So knowing that, I think that Calvin in a 2, 3, or 4 player game, he's going to be phenomenal.
Has anyone played Threads other than me so far?
No, I haven't even gotten to the second scenario in Forgotten Age.
I have Ruin of Edsley in progress on my table, and I plan to hopefully get to Threads after we wrap tonight. But I've heard good things.
It's good.
Just general nebulous good things.
I don't want to build it up too much, but it's good.
I say when I was sleeving it, I was surprised at the number of act cards in that. Like, I knew there would be a lot. I didn't think there would be that many.
I read the setup and I was like, whew.
Yeah, I haven't read the setup yet, but just based on the fact that the cards are all basically agenda and act cards, I'm like, oh, well, this must just pull from all the other elements of the game to make its encounter deck, so this should be real interesting.
Yeah, it's one of those ones like Black Stars Rise that the setup takes a little longer, but I think it pays off in kind of the alternate paths you get. I think it's like one of the most RPG scenarios that we've had in terms of like feeling like you can just kind of go and pick your paths and do what you want to do at any given moment.
Cool. Interesting. I'm excited. All right, so let's move on to the news then. I don't think we've had a whole lot, Ian. Confirm?
What was that?
All I heard was confirm.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, did I cut out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
News, Ian. Do you have any?
I don't think so, unless I missed one. I think the only thing is just the release of Return to Night of the Zealot was kind of the only article we had, because the last thing was the 4th pack was announced, and we talked about that last time. So we're still waiting for the 5th pack of the cycle to be announced, and yeah, that's about it. We're kind of in a content glut now, which means not as much of a news glut. Did we want to talk about those cards? Did we want to talk about a few of the Night of the Zealot cards now, or just save it to another episode?
I would like to point out one, just because Sean and I made the what do we call it? Quarterback min upgraded barricade.
Ooh!
Oh man!
Oh yeah!
Sure, let's talk about it. Who wants to read that thing?
Oh well, now I have to read it. God, no,
I got it right here.
All right.
Barricade level 3. It's a 0-cost seeker event. Has a will, intellect, agility icon, insight, tactic. Text is attached to your location. Non-elite enemies cannot move into or spawn at attached location. Each time an enemy would spawn at attached location, spawn it at a connecting location instead, if able. Forced when investigator leaves, discard it. So,
oh my god,
awesome!
Nice. Oh my god, so many things to do with this card now.
Like, why use Disc of Imnanza when you can just use upgraded barricade? If you're gonna,
because you can move with Disc.
Yeah, but quarterback min. You just sit there.
Oh well, yeah. In that specific deck, you're right.
Yeah, I also love the idea of min specifically taking some traps. So you set a trap in one room, move into the other one, throw the barricade down, and then when the next enemy spawns, you just spawn it straight into the trap.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
This is kind of the barricade we always wanted, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Because the other one, it's not a very useful barricade when a monster can just teleport into the room you're trying to barricade.
Oh shoot, I barricaded one in with me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
A lot of these cards were kind of bringing new life to cards that maybe don't get used a whole lot more. Like new Mind Wipe.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, new Mind Wipe. Well, I'll do the fast version here. In addition to what normal Mind Wipe does, it reduces the enemy's damage and horror by 1. So it's kind of feinty or dodgy in a way. Sorry, I went Lord of the Rings for a second there.
I do kind of like all the upgraded talents too, just that they're 0 cost. Because that was a big complaint. It's like cost 2 and an action, and then those resources you just lost. You wanted, and now it's 0 cost. You can use those 2 resources for the actual boosting you wanted. Not to mention the icons on it. Like, now it's okay to run 2 of them, because if you draw the second one, it's like, Hey, this is a
Hooray.
pretty good card for...
And now I have a card that is both guts and overpower. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you can use those icons with Yaddle. Especially
Yes.
Dig Deep level
You
2.
can. It turns out, just for everyone's edification, Dig Deep level 2 works with Yaddle. just so we're clear. Just so we're clear.
Confirmed.
All right, so guys, since our discussion topic tonight is so meaty, and even though every time we resolve that we're not going to do a 3-hour episode, we somehow get there, let's get into our main topic.
Yes.
So, Nick, this one was kind of your love baby, so would you like to bring us on in?
I would. So we've had...
That was the sound of me handing the reins to you, but I dropped them.
Oh, I thought you were doing a drum roll for me. But so we've had some listeners respond pretty positively to what was the episode that we were... Oh, the deck building episode. So we had one listener specifically say that the deck building episodes are really fun, and they would like to see us do a custom scenario build.
That was Julius,
live.
actually.
Julius, yes. Oh yeah, lucky Julius, winner Julius.
Yeah.
So, and Sean had said, well, I'll run it by everyone else and see what we can get. And then he brought it to us, and I said, I've actually been working on a topic for that exact thing. So this is a custom scenario workshop episode, and how it's going to work. The last time we did custom scenarios, for those of you who were here or who were not, that's episode 23 of our podcast, and that came out last September. We took a category, a super category, like video games in this instance, and then Sean, Ian, and I, each of us, kind of created an elevator pitch and a very basic overview of a custom scenario that would be adapted from a video game of our choice. And that was a really fun episode to do. Again, we got a lot of positive feedback on it, and it created these ideas for scenarios that I would love to see realized at some point. I doubt any of us will ever get the time to really put one of these together.
Probably
But
not.
anyway, right, exactly. So what we're going to do this time is, instead of each of us presenting our own scenario, is I came up with a list of 4 different elements, like broad ideas or parts of a scenario, and each of us came up with a specific thing in regards to that element. So, for instance, the elements are setting, the mythos, the gimmick of the scenario, the mechanical gimmick, and then the inspiration, or like the thread that ties it all together. And so I assigned each of us one of those elements, and we had a week or so to come up with what we wanted to do, and now we're going to present those to each other for the first time. We have no idea what each of us picked, and we're going to create a scenario from those elements and inspired by those elements. And obviously you guys can throw in your ideas as well, which we may or may not incorporate. But the first of those elements, and the one that is kind of like the most quote-unquote obvious, like the one that you think of right away with Arkham Horror, is how it ties into the mythos. And Sean had that element. So Sean, what part of the Cthulhu mythos do you want to incorporate into our scenario?
All right, guys. Now, I'm going simple, but I feel like simple ideas executed really well are some of the best ways to go. I want to just go with Cthulhu. Honestly, he's the cornerstone of this whole thing. He hasn't gotten any play in the game yet, outside of just having that agents and counter set. But here's the specific thing that I want. So the Mythos tie-in, whether or not Cthulhu itself actually shows up in the camp or in the scenario is whatever. But what I really want, I love the horror trope, the Lovecraft trope of the investigators either seeking out or happen to come across some artifact of eldritch origin, which ideally we can incorporate into the other elements. And whether this is a thing that is actually powerful and does good for the investigators, or it's really bad and they want to either try to destroy or hide it, I suppose we can decide based on the other elements. But I want it to be centered around some Cthulhu-esque artifact.
So almost like the idol that Legrasse had in the in the story Call of Cthulhu.
Sure.
But if that actually had like a power to it of some sort.
Yes.
That's kind of what you're
Exactly.
thinking. Okay. Cool. Something really related, really adjacent. Awesome.
Something
so
really
before-
interesting.
Right. So before we dig too much into that, let's move on to our next element. This one is what I think of as honestly one of the most interesting is when I see a new scenario is revealed, is wondering where it's going to take place, its setting, whether that's a specific place like New Orleans or a broad idea like the jungle. And Ian had our setting. So Ian, where is this taking place?
Well,
This is the part where you tell us it's going to be on an airplane at like 10,000 feet.
The Miskatonic Museum.
Well, I put a few different ideas through my head. I was thinking of pretty exotic locations, and then this particular setting popped into my head, and so it took me all of 5 minutes to come up with a setting. I was like, I got an easy one. And it also happens to go along with what Sean just said, because my idea is our scenario is set on a old school 1920s cruise ship / ocean liner. Think your Titanic, that kind of thing. I have some pictures that I'm going to pop in our Discord to give you some inspiration. But yeah, we're basically our scenario is going to be set on a cruise ship of that era. And we can, discuss if we want to have some part that goes into the ocean or not. Here are some interior photos of what a cruise ship would have looked like back then. But yeah, that's the basic idea. I was thinking it could just be a standard line from like New York to London, something like that. On the we could call the ship the Constellation. I think that's a nice Mythos name. And
there absolutely needs to be a treachery in this deck that is Ode One right ahead.
So I think that's.
I'm not hearing any.
Well
I'm not hearing any dissent.
We'll get there, Sean.
Yeah.
We'll get there. No, I think that's really cool. I like all of the potential. It's funny for playing Guardian so much. I like the potential for non-combat related challenges that this would potentially pose, and then also the risks that would come with open combat on an ocean liner like this. That'd be really cool. So then another thing, the second thing that I probably get the most excited about with a revealed scenario is what the scenario mechanically does that is different from your vanilla Arkham scenario. So we have the Gathering, we have Midnight Masks, and we have Devour Below, and they all kind of play like what you would expect quote-unquote generic Arkham to play like. But then every scenario after that kind of has their own thing that they do, their gimmick, their mechanical gimmick. And Scott is in charge of our mechanical gimmick, and Scott has been just super excited to talk about this. So what do you have for us?
Okay, well, Nick, you and I, back when we were kind of discussing making a couple of custom scenarios of our own, I threw out the idea, hey, like, let's mess with the Chaos Bag. What if at the beginning of the campaign you start with, like, the Elder Sign, the Tentacle, +1, -1, and that's it, right? Like, just something, and obviously that is just ridiculous. I even suggested just Tentacle and Elder Sign. But I decided to build on that idea of a really weird Chaos Bag, and maybe even an evolving one within the scenario. So, we can hammer out the numbers a little bit more if we're going to work on this later. But so my proposed start of the bag has 15 tokens, I believe. So it has an Elder Sign, a Tentacle, 2 zeros, 2 1s, 2 2s, 2 3s. Oh, sorry, minuses. All these are minuses. And then it has a -4, a -5, a -6, -7, -8, with none of the symboled tokens. And what I was thinking is, as you move through locations, you can actually find locations where you can seal numbered tokens. So maybe the starting location has, a double action, seal the -8 on this card. And then later on, you can actually find the symbol tokens, and those ones actually have positive benefits, where the skull may be a +1, the tablet might be a +2, one of them might be a 0 if you pass, draw a card, or gain a resource, something like that. And so you start off with this horrible bag, But as you move through it, depending on how much you investigate and find things and explore, you can actually improve the bag greatly to the point where it's like fighting in your favor.
Interesting. The way I kind of thought you were leaning towards was doing, like, you can seal the big negative numbers, but the cost that you have to pay is you have to add a symbol to it, and the symbols are much more variable, like based on how your play is actually going. So it'd be like, we're getting rid of the -8, but we're putting in the tablet, and that could be either, -2 or -6 or, whatever, something like that.
Well, one thing, I didn't want to go too much in the numbers, but I was even thinking like -8, -7, -6, 2 -5s, 3 -4s, like make it a horrible bag to start. And you have to fight through that. To get to a better place.
How though?
See, then you're relying a little much on dumb luck, just to get
the way I imagine is there's locations, and as each location you flip, it says like, as an action you can seal a numbered token. So you don't actually have to take a test to seal it, but what it does is it slows down your testing in the beginning, and then something along those lines. But
okay. I love the idea of an evolving chaos bag within the scenario, and I love the idea that you're interacting with that within one scenario. I think that's really cool. So we'll definitely play with that as we go. And then the last thing was my element, and its theme or inspiration. It's a bit more high concept idea that kind of provides us with a guiding thread. Whenever we're losing our way developing this, we can kind of look at, okay, well, what's our theme? And I've been watching a Let's Play of a video game called A Way Out, which is about 2 inmates breaking out of prison. And I had a couple of really crazy ideas for theme, but those crazy ideas really kind of like they infringed especially on Ian's area with setting. So I was like, I want something that isn't going to influence any of the 3 other elements too much, other than just guide them around. So my theme that I'm proposing here, my inspiration, is escape from confinement. However we want to interpret that. But what that means to me is a slower paced scenario where your options are limited, quote unquote limited in the beginning, but then they kind of open up as the scenario goes on, but the action also ramps up. So it's you're limited in where you can go or what you can do right away, and you have to figure out a way to get beyond those limitations, and then when you do, that's when the scenario really starts to fight back, if that makes sense. Yeah. So that's kind of where I was leaning for that. Does that work for you guys, you think? You think we can make something of this?
Yeah. I feel like we got lucky that all our elements actually go together fairly well.
Yeah. All right. So, with that in mind, let's talk about let's just talk about some basic overview ideas. Like, okay, so we're dealing with a Cthulhu artifact, or a Cthulhu or Aurelia-related artifact that the one of the big decisions in the scenario is whether to keep it or destroy it, or whether to use it or not, like that sort of thing. Like, it's a really kind of play with power. It's a very mysticky kind of way to go about it. I was hoping Sean would. There you go, yeah. So we got that. We're on an ocean liner. In the middle of our voyage, I would assume we're not close to one side or do we want to be close? Maybe like docking is an impending thing. Like, would that have a bearing on the scenario?
Well, I suppose that kind of depends on how we want to go with it narratively. Are we assuming what's happening? Like, are we going to be out in the middle of the ocean when shit goes down, or are we going to be like on our way into, Beirut?
Are we about
which is obviously connected via ocean?
Are we about to dock with an iceberg? Or...
Yeah. I mean, one of the obvious places to go is that at some point the ship is in trouble, possibly sinking, and the escape element could be that. Or it could be the cultists seize control of the cruise liner because they want the artifact and we have to escape from confinement that way. I think those were the 2 that kind of popped into my head first.
Sure.
Did we take one too many ribs at the dinner buffet?
That's definitely a treachery.
Okay, so if the idea is that we start more or less imprisoned, do we go like BioShock, where like most of the shit has already gone down and we're seeing the aftermath?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering, whether we start in the middle of it or we have like one agenda worth where we're like doing so. I don't know. Yeah, maybe it's better to start in the middle of it.
I don't mind I don't mind a quick agenda, like maybe 2 Doom. Like that's just the start. Like, okay, I need to get out of jail real quick. Like you give the players that hint that, this is just the beginning. So yeah.
What sort of like on a okay, well here's the thing. If you're on a ocean liner, if you're on a cruise ship in the 1920s, what and let's say that it's found out that you're a criminal while you're on there. What would happen? They don't have a brig. They don't have a
brig. Did you not see Titanic?
Yeah, I'm sure they have a brig. Probably
they have brigs on like regular day ones too.
Yeah. I think that's true that they have some kind of security area where they can hold you.
Okay. I assume they just throw you in a room and like have you under armed guard. But okay, that changes things completely.
They also have a morgue on modern cruise ships. I'm not joking. There's a giant freezer.
That's a thing.
Yeah,
that's a thing.
Maybe we could take a little creative liberty and have a morgue on our 1920s cruise ship. That'd be interesting. All right. Anyway,
I think in the 20s the morgue was just the icebox,
or just the ocean itself,
or that could be,
or just the ocean. Yeah, just toss them over. So maybe instead of being confined to the brig, what if you are captured by the cult? Like, so let's say there is a cult presence on this ocean liner, and whether you whether you were working against them originally or whether it was just dumb luck, they didn't like you snooping around, so you start out like being held in a room with like one armed cultist. And that's your first, maybe that's the first like hurdle you have to get over, because obviously playing, like we could like impose a sort of penalty on playing cards. Like obviously the cultist wouldn't let you just pull a gun out.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What if you start a treachery similar to Straitjacket, where we say your hands are tied up, you don't have hand slots. And so you can either like punch them because you'd still have your hands, or use evade to trip them up, or intellect to parlay.
Yeah,
so
like look over there, it's the Goodyear blimp. Yeah, something like that. I like that.
Remember that you crushed the cultist's hopes.
and the beginning cultist could be somewhat weak, but maybe it's massive, similar to Silas, where it doesn't take attacks of opportunity, but every round he smacks you around a little bit. At the so you have to get out of his grasp, but he's easy to defeat, maybe 2 or 3 health. But
yeah, I mean, do we just make it like an acolyte?
Well, and see, I was thinking like less of he's not attacking you so much as he is just making sure you stay in this room. You know what I mean? Like,
so is he aloof?
Because
we have to kill him before we get.
He could be aloof. Yeah, he could be aloof.
So you actually have to.
Go ahead. This is just what I was thinking. So if we want to have him be an aggressor right away, that would be really interesting too. Maybe. Have him be, I would picture something kind of like, not mechanically, but just like thematically kind of like the pit boss from Clover Club, like this big imposing guy.
Yeah, so maybe he has aloof for that first short agenda, and then on the back of the agenda, like he gets a walkie-talkie call to ice you, except, whatever like the 1920s equivalent to a walkie-talkie is. A note slid.
His tin can on a string.
A note slid under the door.
Blowing on a kazoo.
And then he loses aloof and starts becoming aggressive.
Ooh, okay, what if he has a parley action? So what if he's a big enemy? Like, he's not boss level, but he's like mini boss level. Like, he's a sizable enemy. And like he's aloof, so he does... Like the pit boss. And he's aloof, so he doesn't attack you, but he has a parlay action on him that if you try at it enough... And if you're successful enough times in a row, like if you place, 1 clue on him for every player in the game or 2 clues on whatever, he'll actually like either leave or maybe assist you or something like that. And so then when that really quick agenda pops, that's when other cultists come in. And if he's still there, they're like, we need to take these guys out.
And it's Diana Stanley.
Well, maybe something like that. Like, maybe you could turn him, like, right away if you're really good, and if you're not, but if you're still successful but not super successful, he just leaves, and if you're not successful at all, then he attacks you with the other cultists that come in after the agenda pops. You guys aren't as excited about this as I am.
I'm just, there's so many, like, I'm listening to you, and I'm looking at all the ideas being thrown out in the chat.
I'm glad that you guys are watching chat, because I'm not, between typing notes and talking, I'm not.
Uncar's Thug had a really out there suggestion. What if instead of being actually, like, imprisoned, we start off being thrown overboard by the cultists, and, like, that's what we have to escape. We have to find our way back onto the ship.
Oh my god.
We start off in a well, they wouldn't give us a lifeboat. We're on a plank of wood like the Titanic.
Like, opening act, the first thing you read is test agility 4. If you fail, move to the, open water location. If you succeed, move to the hanging lifeboat location.
Yeah, okay, I kind of like that, where it's like, it opens and we're like in mid D&D grapple test with the cultists. And like, that's like, right away it's asking you, oh man, but if you're playing like Carolyn, oof.
Yeah, I think either scenario we have to make it accessible to like a range of tests somehow.
Yeah, and then if we... Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Scott.
So taking that idea and kind of combining with our old one, what if test for agility, if you fail, then you get tied up? So you can either start tied or untied, like you're in the process of getting, like, cow-tied in the room.
Hog-tied.
Hog-tied, sorry.
Goat-tied.
Duck-tied.
It stops, like... Because if anyone with low agility just gets thrown overboard... It depends how hard it is to get back on board, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think we would have to make sure it's accessible. Obviously, like, you don't want the first thing a scenario does is to be like, hey, you can't play this now, sorry.
Right, yeah.
This isn't like we're doing the weights or anything.
Now, I will say, if you're in the ocean, instead of drawing an encounter card, you just resolve chilling cold.
Like we just have a permanent chilling cold sitting out that... Oh boy.
I mean, what if it starts out like Return of the Jedi moment, like on the edge of the barge, and then it's like the first test, if you fail, you get thrown overboard. Otherwise, you're fighting off the cultist, and, it can start right at the moment of being about to being thrown overboard. And then you make the signal to R2-D2, and,
I don't know. I still really like the idea of, because then if we were to do with like being tied up in that room, then you would be split with these two very immediate goals of either parlay the big guy or try and get out of your bonds so that you can play weapons. And either or will set you up for when the agenda pops. I'm open to either that or the we start in media res getting thrown overboard, if we can come up with a way that every investigator could, have more or less equal ground at succeeding in not getting, you know what I mean? Like, not failing right away on that other one.
And I feel like we don't have to make it a crazy hard test. We make it like a 2 or 3, and maybe we make it like either intellect or agility to either grab onto the ship or like, to shift your weight to try to fall into the lifeboat or something. Like, there are ways you can make it accessible. I really love the idea of someone flipping this card. The first agenda is called Overboard. When revealed, you're getting chucked over.
Oh god, when revealed on an agenda card? Oh boy.
Sorry, that's a little bit of Lord of the Rings action there.
I mean, it's even possible to potentially meld the two where we're in the room, and then if we just don't get out fast enough, they toss our ass overboard, and then we get thrown to the overboard location, which is going to take more time.
Maybe that's it. We start in the room, and one of the ways you get out of the room is to get chucked off the balcony.
Yeah, okay, so then the cultist enemies... Right, I was going to say the cultist enemies that come in wouldn't be interested in attacking you. They would just have some sort of text that, like, locks you down or something. And then if all investigators are locked down, whatever that means, that's when it advances to the overboard. Is that what you're thinking, kind of?
Sure. That sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
Because then if the big guy is an enemy at that point, then you'll probably be set up in a bad place. But if you parlay him to your side or to get him to leave, then you're set up better to deal with them. And also, if you break out of your bonds before then and have, your 45 in play, then again, you're set up to fight the cultists rather than just let them carry you off. Okay.
Yeah. So basically, you'll always get out of the room one way or another, but it's a matter of whether you get out by getting tossed or by escaping.
Yeah, whether it's on your terms or their terms, basically. Players start tied up. All right, let's keep talking about where would it go from there. I'm writing down our notes so far, but where will we go after that? After that first agenda pops.
And keeping in mind Scott's mechanic, maybe that's also our first opportunity to seal one of the bad tokens is if we're able to get out.
Love it.
Let's see.
Okay, so let's talk.
I guess what's kind of the big objective? Like, what are we trying to accomplish as investigators?
Yeah, so let's talk about what's happening on the ship. So we've got our crazy Relia artifact. We've got cultists doing something on the ship. Like, do we assume that they've got some artifact and they're trying to summon Cthulhu out in the middle of the ocean, or Cthulhu?
I could see it almost as like maybe someone is transporting the artifact. They take control of the cruise liner to get control of the artifact, and then they're probably going to take it to some location to do something with it.
Yeah, there's some wealthy museum curator or something that is on the ship with it and trying to move it inconspicuously, and they obviously fail at that, and so the cult. So so then I would imagine that when we or when the players get out of that room, the cult would be in full swing in trying to either locate it or get at the artifact. Or maybe they have it already.
Yeah. So probably our goal, right, is to get the artifact from them and then either defeat the cult or get out of Dodge and save ourselves, something like that. I don't know.
Yep, I think that sounds like a decent premise to start with.
We have to have one treachery or agenda or something that's like, look at me, I'm the captain now.
The more memes, the better.
King of the world, when revealed, a revelation. Test agility 1 to spread your arms really quickly.
Okay, so Act 1 is getting out of the room. Act 2 would probably be searching for the artifact.
Yeah, I feel like that's going to be the meat of the agenda, or of the act deck, right?
Yeah, and then the agenda is just going to be them getting closer to the destination and their ritual or whatnot.
Right. Okay, well, let's back up just a second. If you fail at everything in the room and you end up getting thrown overboard, how do we get that back to a gameable state? Or is that defeat?
No, I was thinking it could be like just an ocean location, and then you have to... It could be just getting clues or passing a test to get back onto the ship. Something like that.
Yeah, because maybe the liner is stopped. Maybe they're at the point in the ocean where they're going to start doing the ritual. It doesn't to swim as fast as a ocean liner would be quite difficult.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
So maybe the ship is stopped, and so you can swim up to it and climb into a board hole or something.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yep, it would make sense that the cultists would disable everything to take control.
It would be fun if... Okay. Well, I'm probably jumping ahead of myself, but I'm just spitballing. But if the final agenda is they're succeeding at their ritual, but it's kind of backfiring on them, where it doesn't have to be Cthulhu himself, but some kind of crazy entities are just at that point, swarming the boat and causing it to sink, and,
Yeah. Could have deep madness. Ones that are crawling all over the ship.
Yeah, kind of like a house always wins situation, but
right.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
Okay, so
I like what Julius says here. So it's the cultists' goal to eventually sink the ship, because once their ritual is done, they've gotta we gotta.
Yeah,
sink
that
the
works
thing.
too. I guess I'm just looking to sink the ship at some point.
Yeah. Render unto Cthulhu that which is Cthulhu's.
Okay, so let's talk map. It probably maps itself out.
Mm-hmm.
And I know Nick and Ian, you're both fans of big maps.
Yes, more locations. More.
And if you want lots of locations, this is a scenario where you could do it. You could have like dining room A, B, and C.
Yes, engine room.
But what ideally is a surmountable and traversable amount of locations? Like 8 or 9?
I was thinking the boat could be 9, and maybe we do it similar to, is it Oath with it's like a 3x3, but it's different levels.
Oh, the Echoes of the Past.
Echoes of the Past, right? I
Yeah.
was confused Oath and Echoes.
And as water starts to fill the ship, you can like rotate the cards on each level sideways.
I like that a lot.
Yes. I want this scenario now.
Nailed it.
Yeah, definitely. I think there should be some decks. So maybe between 9 and 12, 3 decks worth. So 3 or 4 locations on each deck, something like that.
I honestly think using a layout, I mean, we can pretty much rip it straight out of Echoes from the Past, and it works great, because the whole thing is you have more locations than you need for each level, so every time you're getting that randomization.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of feel like each deck should not be equal.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like our lower deck should maybe have 3, and they're all like cargo and maintenance locations, and then our mid deck should have like 4, and those are all like the dining room and the ballroom and that sort of stuff. And then our upper deck should have 3 or 4, and like one of those would be the bridge.
Yeah.
One or two of them would be so you'd have like the bridge in the middle, and then you'd have
aft
the
deck and the foredeck.
Exactly. Yes. So you'd have 2 exposed locations
Ooh,
that
and
are
the
up on the
forecastle.
top. Yes. The forecastle, yes.
Yeah.
Do we also want an ocean location? Like the thing, if you ever get thrown overboard at some point, you end up in this water.
Here's what I was thinking. Instead of a location, it is a treachery.
That's what I was thinking. I like that.
And when you fail whatever test or whatever is on the treachery, you remove your mini token and you place it on the treachery card in your threat area.
Perfect.
Ooh.
I like
Beautiful.
that.
Yeah, like it. Perfect.
And then it's just like an agility or a combat, or would intellect or will make sense for getting back on the boat? Like, it kind of feels like once you're in the water, it's all physical. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's gonna be rough for some investigators.
Unless the ship is stopped, like then we can then swimming to it, we could say isn't.
It's just spending
hard.
actions, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It could be
Or hey, how about this? How about a combat or agility test of like 3 or 4, and then as an additional cost to take this test, you may spend any number of actions to reduce the cost or the difficulty of the test by the number of actions you spend. So, like,
if that's the case, then I think it should be like a difficulty 4. So if you spend all 3, it's just difficulty 1.
Sure, yeah, and someone who's in a really bad place, and this is like the weakness that could take them out of the game, they still have some recourse, but it costs.
One other thing that just popped in my head, and maybe just throw it away, but either test like agility or combat 3 or 4 to pass, or just 3 actions get back on board. Like, so you can either choose to test it, or you can just be like, I just waste my turn getting on board.
This action can also be triggered by any investigator who is at an external location.
But
to pull you back
right
up,
now
right?
but right now our only external locations are the very top of the map.
Well, that makes
so
sense.
maybe there's a story asset like what do you call it? A life preserver. No, a life saver.
Sure.
Wait, what is it called?
A life preserver.
The inflatable ring. Yeah.
Like,
I don't know. I like what Scott like. So do we want to have it where it's like we can go one of 2 ways? Do we want to have either a test that is adjustable by spending actions, or do we want to have a hard test that can be avoided by spending actions and maybe like taking a damage or something like that?
I kind of feel like I like Scott's solution of a sure thing, only because I could imagine I just want to avoid the feel bad of like I'm just stuck overboard with this investigator forever. Like I kind of like the option of just I lose a turn, which is a harsh penalty, and I get back on.
Yeah.
Or
so it'd be
if it costs 3 actions, it costs 1 less action for each investigator at a connecting location. Like whatever that means. So like if Daisy's swimming for the boat and Roland's there, she can spend 1 less action because it's easier because he pulls her up at the end.
Well, if the overboard is a treachery instead of a location, then we have to word that a little bit different.
Oh, yeah.
Sure, but essentially the same idea. What if...
any investigator can commit actions of their
That's
turn
what I was gonna
towards
say.
this action.
So it costs 3 actions, but the actions can be spent by anyone overboard or by anyone... So it would have to read like, spend 3 actions, choose an investigator, choose a mini card on the overboard treachery and move it to an open deck location, and any investigator at an open deck location or overboard may spend actions too as part of it. Whatever.
Oh, but Ungar's Thug brings a big thing. What about solo?
Yeah, that was why I truncated my thought really quickly, was because that will kill solo game. Well, I mean, if you're playing solo, you're probably going to have an investigator that has. Would you play a Combat 1 investigator solo?
Anyone can have a bad test,
Maybe.
Nick.
That's true.
Well, if it's combat or agility, or at least that's a pretty broad range of investigators that should have some kind of shot of doing the 1 action version. I don't know.
Oh, maybe you have to spend equal number of actions as there are investigators in the game, but any investigator can spend them.
From a specific location.
Right. So if you're in 4 players, it takes you 4 actions to get aboard. If you're solo, it's just 1.
That seems a little too easy for solo then, doesn't it?
I think solo
like
also
it's just moving a location.
You also have to cover like 9 locations solo, or 10 locations. So I mean, yeah, I don't know.
Sure.
Okay, well let's work out. Let's develop
Yeah, yeah.
that treachery. Let's move on from there.
Okay.
So let's hash out then a little bit more of the narrative side. So I assume we're dealing with the Cult of Dagon or Cthulhu. Is the Cult of Dagon also worship Cthulhu? Aren't those two kind of mixed up together?
They are more closely related than other great old ones.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So what is our artifact? Do we want more than 1 artifact? Do we want this to be a situation where like investigators could find some cool artifacts too? Like someone pulls the sword of Saint Jerome out of a crate.
Wow.
Oh boy.
No, probably
So like
not.
there's more than just the one?
Well, no, I mean, if we're going with the premise that someone's transporting a single important artifact, let's just stick to that and not muddy the water. So what is it?
What if... Okay, we'll get back to what it is.
Okay.
But what if there are like 2 fakes?
Oh boy.
And part of the scenario is determining which one is the real one and which one is the fake one.
I like this. Because potentially they could be in different parts of, like, let's say that that relic guy who was transporting it knew people might be onto him, so he has different versions stashed, and you have to do some kind of intellect test to figure out, or spend clues or whatever to test that to determine whether it's the right one or not.
Right. Maybe we have 3 story assets that are identical, that are double-sided, and the backside one of them is real, and the other 2 are just like, oh, it's a replica.
Yeah, and you have to do a test to flip them over.
Yeah.
Like
Right, yeah. You have to do something to... Yeah.
I assume this relic would be pretty tough. Like, as in, like, strength. Like, because I assume it's, like, otherworldly. Could one of the tests also be combat? Like, you smash it on the ground, and the fake ones just shatter? And the real one just, like, makes a hollow thud? Or... My lore in
the problem with
trinkets is bad in this game, so...
The problem with something that easy is then it's like, why wouldn't the cult just smash all 3 of them immediately? You know what I mean? Like, why wouldn't the other people do something? So, if we wanted to get around that... Oh, go ahead, Ian.
Oh, I was just going to say, maybe we take a page out of the book of... oh, God, what's the scenario called? The Catacombs.
Pallid Mask.
Pallid Mask. And have... an enemy that's a cultist that you can beat up to get them to identify whether it's real or not, something like that.
Oh yeah, I like that.
Beat him with the trinket.
Yeah, let's see if this is real, thud.
I do like the idea. So if we're going down like the mystic theme, I really like the idea that the artifact is obviously evil because they're trying to do something crazy with it, but it also could be used by us for something.
Yeah.
Right.
It would be cool if it's a double-edged sword type thing where it has some kind of useful effect,
definitely.
but it can also help advance the cultists' plans, potentially.
Okay. So, real quick, I'm just going to run through the decks real quick, the act and agenda. So the agenda deck, first agenda is break out of the room, and it's relatively short. Second one is the cultists, are they searching for the artifact, or are they doing their ritual? And how does the artifact and the ritual, how do they interact?
What if when agendas advance, I don't know at what point, but that any relic that's not identified yet that we don't have in our possession kind of gets flipped over, and if that's the right one, then that, obviously comes into their possession or not. Basically to represent that they're looking for it too, and they grab them as the agenda advances.
I see. So they like sit. They're out of play, but they sit in an area. Like you have them set aside so you can reference them at all times. So even though you don't technically possess one, like you're still able to it'd be like checking your map in a video game or something. You'd be like, okay, this is the progress that we have. This is a secondary clock that's ticking against us.
Right. Like I think when you get one, you come into it, you take control of it, and then you can test it at whatever point. But that at least means that the cult can't get it once it's in your possession.
Right.
I don't know if that would lead to too much feel bad if they flip the right one right away and get it in their possession, but I don't know. I think potentially that also there should be an option if we go that way, that if they get it in their possession, you can also try to get it back from them. I don't know. Something like that. That shouldn't be an instant loss, I guess is what I'm saying.
Right. No, but it'd be an uphill battle.
Right.
Well, in the same way, then it would be easier because then you know where it is.
Sure.
You know how to go after it then. Just beat the cultist who has it or whatever.
Yeah.
So then would that be we would have agendas 2, 3, and 4 be searching for the relic? Or no, it'd just be like agenda 2, and instead of flipping it when it hits its threshold, you remove all doom in play, flip over one of the relics. Yep, okay.
Right, that kind of thing.
How do we feel about that,
Yeah,
Sean and Scott?
I like that.
It works for me.
Yep.
Okay. So that agenda 2 is called as searching for real artifact. And then agenda 3 would be after they find it, or... Well, then what if you find
or
it
if
first?
you get it to a certain location? But I suppose the act that would be more taken care of in the act deck.
Yeah, that would be, yeah. So in agenda, so if you find it first, they're still going to be searching through the 2 that are red herrings, correct? We're fine. Or if you find it first, should that advance everything?
I think so, yeah.
I was going to say agenda 2, you flip it over and it says reveal one of the things they might get or whatever. If you go to reveal one of them and there are none, go to agenda 3, A or B, depending on if they have it or not. So if you have it, you get agenda 3A, and they're looking for you. And if you don't have it, it's 3B, they're doing the ritual, and you got to go get it. Something along those lines?
Sure.
We could...
Yeah, I like... Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Maybe potentially there's 2 agendas. If we get it first, then it's agenda 3, hunting you down, whatever. And then if you go to agenda 3 by them advancing, then it's agenda 3, whatever, completing the ritual.
Yeah.
Okay, so agenda 3 version 1 is the investigators finding the artifact. It's when they find the artifact. So then it's the... And now, okay, we still haven't established the exact relationship between the artifact and the ritual.
Yeah.
Do they need the artifact to complete the ritual?
I would assume so.
They must,
Yeah.
yeah. So then if the investigators have it, then it's going to be
a chase.
Yeah, so then agenda 3 version 1 is
every cultist gains hunter and prey, bearer of the item.
Yeah. And then agenda What are you thinking, Ian?
Maybe potentially, the end game is just fundamentally going to be two different games, right? Like, it could even be one of those ones where it flips over and it's both the act and agenda, that kind of thing. Because I think at that point, it's either a chase scenario, you get the relic and the goal is to get out and escape in a boat or whatever, or it's them hunting you down and... the other way is they're trying to complete the ritual and you have to get up to the deck and stop them or whatever the case may be as the boat is sinking. I don't know.
Yep. So then we would potentially have two different Agenda 4s as well. Agenda 4 version 1, Agenda 4 version 2, depending on which Agenda 3 you go into. Because if the cultists are chasing you on 3 and they get the relic or the artifact, then it would go to Agenda 4 version 2.
Wait. I feel like maybe we have one too many branching paths here. Maybe...
Well, we only have one. But the problem is they both need to get to the other option. Like, you know what I mean? They both need to...
Yeah, they need to.
We have A and B and then A and B, but A from the first set needs to get to both A and B in the second set. And same thing. It's an X.
Sure.
I don't know if you... Catch me. Yes, it's standalone. To answer Unkar's thug question.
So Agenda 4 is Cthulhu shows up. If that's what the ritual is, if they're summoning Cthulhu and or deep ones. And I think if we got it first and then don't beat the thing via the act, then it's just a story beat that they get the artifact back from us and complete the ritual. On the back of that agenda.
So you think no matter what, it's going to go to Agenda 4?
Or what if
if
we have it and they're trying to do the ritual and they fail at the ritual, Cthulhu comes up and he's pissed at them, or just pissed at everybody?
I would say Cthulhu doesn't really pick sides. Yeah.
No,
he just kind of is.
Yeah. But if he comes up because of them having the artifact, then he's more aimed at us, whereas if we have it, he's aimed at everybody.
I personally like the idea of using deep ones instead of Cthulhu himself.
Sure. So basically, our artifact is Cthulhu Catnip.
It's like it's a cattle prod for deep ones, where you can direct them. Like they'll still be against you, but you can influence their direction.
Yeah, I think for the sinking aspect, it could just be a kind of thing where it's like, you know, the ocean is swirling around, you're hearing like tearing sounds under the ship, so it's never actually said what's doing that, but that's kind of what's starting it.
Right.
But yeah,
it could just be more of a side effect from the ritual than an actual, you know, like it's never overtly stated that that's a goal. You know what I mean? It just sort of starts happening.
Yeah.
So what's the end goal here? Do we need to destroy this artifact?
Right. Is the goal to escape? Is it to take back control of the ship? Is it to destroy the artifact?
I think the goal is to hold on to the artifact for about 40 years and then go back and huck it over the side of the boat.
Okay, well, we're going to need Agenda 5 through 39 then.
I like the idea of the ship sinking no matter what. So I like the idea of escape being the ultimate goal with the artifact sort of being like complete success.
So then
you know what I mean?
The ship starting to sink is going to be triggered by an act then, so that way no matter what it's going to happen.
You mean agenda?
Well, right now we have a branching agenda. We have 3 version 1, 3 version 2.
Well, once the relic
3 version 1.
Yeah. Once the relic is found by anyone, then it advances to that stage, right? That was the idea.
To the ritual?
Yeah. Well,
okay.
By the way,
I guess the... Oh, go ahead, Sean.
Well, I'm just going to throw this out there. I know one of the potential outs for this, Unkar's Thug mentions it in the chat here, is to abscond with the artifact in a lifeboat.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to put out there that I can think of no more terrifying situation to be in than out in the middle of the open ocean in a small lifeboat carrying Cthulhu Catnip.
Yeah, that's yeah.
It'll be kind of like the end of Carnival where you have to row, except you have to row like 130 times successfully to get out of the ocean somehow.
I
and
feel
then,
like
and
maybe
then
if
there's
we're
the
pulling-
issue of whether we help others escape or not on the way.
Well, and that's the other thing is, do we bother with kind of a bystander mechanic?
Right. Just let them sink, Scott says.
Or do we assume that by the time we get captured at the beginning, like they've already gone through the the
Yeah.
passengers and everyone's dead?
Well, I think some of the theming can be like you just see like mutilated people in the hallways, you know, like or like killed people. Like that's part of the atmosphere. Maybe the cultists have killed everyone else off, and we were the last ones.
I mean, there could it could just be like one or two locations where the survivors are locked up, and then if we take the time to let them free, then they survive, and if not, then they don't. I don't know.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And we take a mental trauma for each one we didn't save.
Oh boy.
No, just kidding.
Yeah, or it affects the chaos bag somehow.
Yeah.
The bad juju.
Scott, let's flesh your thing out a little bit more, because I think your mechanic is the one that's been neglected the most up to this point. Based on everything we've got laid out so far, how do you see implementing your token bag mechanic?
So I guess it depends on how we want to go forward with it. If it was with the idea that the symboled tokens are positives, they're almost like, hey, you searched this room, you found, I don't know, a drink to calm your nerves. Here's a skull token, and now it's a +1 or something. Or you found a map to the boat. Here's a different token that's a +2. If we want to do it that way, I think just basically on every location there's going to be an option to take an action, and no real test to it, but just to add tokens to the bag. And as you discover different locations, maybe a fast action to seal numbers. And so some locations have both, some only have one, maybe some have none. That's about as far as I got in my thought process. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm kind of trying to think, because I'm trying to think. I know someone earlier in the chat, sorry, I can't remember the who it was, but was asking about what's the kind of narrative justification for the mechanic, like what does it represent? I'm kind of thinking maybe like it represents that the chaos bag is so shitty at the beginning because like they have control of the ship and we're captives, and then the things we're doing to manipulate the bag along the way are the things we're doing to disrupt what they're doing. Almost Die Hard style, you know, like you're in the engine room, you discard an item to like gum up the works or whatever, and then that gives you a good token or seals away a bad token, that kind of thing.
Or like freeing the captain, or
right,
yeah, or the bystander thing.
Bits.
Free the bystanders; they're now your militia, and you get like 2 skull tokens. And
yes, exactly. That's our passenger mechanic.
Yeah, and you free them. They're now your militia hanging around with you, kind of militia. I don't know what you want to call it. But the skull token now is +1. If this is a combat test, do +1 damage. Like almost a Zoe thing. So
yeah, and I think. Oh god, my thought.
Cthulhu better be scared if we're gonna. Cthulhu better be scared if we're gonna unleash 5 Zoes on him.
The thing I like about it is because then the scenario turns into how much time do you spend trying to manipulate the bag versus trying to rush through to the end. But if you rush to the end, then you're gonna have to be doing it with a bad bag. So that's kind of the decisions along the way that I think would be interesting.
Yeah, and the bag I proposed at the beginning is a bit rough. Like,
yeah, we could tweak it depending on difficulty.
Because even like before we thought of the confinement thing, one of the thoughts I had for the location that you start in, because I didn't think we were going to start in confinement, this was just in my head, is that on the starting location is a 3 action seal -8. Like you can just someone can say, "Okay, my first turn, I'm sealing -8." Done. So I don't know if if there's double actions somewhere, or again like tests, like who was it?
So here's a question, and just kind of throwing this out there: if we start the bag pretty rough, and then the actual tokens, the modifiers themselves become positive as we're sealing and adding, we formerly call bad stuff to the token.
How are we going to get out of confinement?
Well, there's that, but does it not become a little bit win more because you've already got things going, so now you need these positives? What if instead you swap a token out? It retains the same modifier as the number you took out, but now if you succeed that test, then you get something cool. So that way it doesn't really swing the difficulty hard in either direction, but you still have incentive to do it. It's still a really cool mechanic. And the whole idea, like, I am trying to put skulls in this bag, or I'm trying to put elder things in this bag, that just tickles me.
So we have a more normal bag spread as far as numbers, but you can take out a -5 and put in an elder thing -5 that does something positive if you pass, and like take out a -2. Now the skull is -2, but it does +1 damage.
I mean,
is that what
I feel
you're
like
thinking,
that's and this is maybe just preempting playtesting the first version of this, but I feel like that's something that we might find. So let's just dog ear that idea if we end up finding that the starting negative swinging positive ends up being too swingy.
Yeah.
Okay, so what else do we really have to discuss here? So for stealing the tokens, what are some of the big events that could happen, or big things we could do to affect the cultist plan or things happening on the ship?
I like freeing the passengers.
Sure.
Yeah, that's definitely one.
I would actually put them as cultists because they're people that are following you. Maybe they grab robes.
I like it.
Yeah.
I'm thinking there's 2 locations where they're trapped, and each one of them has 2. So you can put 2 cultists in for one, 2 in the other. So you could get up to 4 cultists.
Okay.
4 cultist tokens.
I like the idea of doing something with the engine room. I'm not sure exactly what, but that would probably be one. And let's see.
So I would imagine starting the engine back up, because if we assume that the cultists sabotaged it to take over the ship.
Sure. So we're taking them away from their ideal ritual site or whatever.
Yeah, I like the elder thing for that.
Yep. Okay. In the successful test on this, like, if you pull this token, then you get to like remove a doom or add clues or do something to kind of represent that the boat is now moving along again and you're going, ideally back to safety.
I like if you're successful, remove a doom from the agenda. But I think we can only put 1 elder thing in the bag.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep, because there's only 1 engine to start, presumably.
Yeah.
I think there's like a lot of engines on cruise ships, but let's just say
but they operate in tandem, Scott.
Yes. Tablet.
I mean, do we maybe think that we find a weapons cache that the cultists are using, or we find something else that's valuable to the cultists besides the main objective and sabotage it?
It could be their plans or something, or
diaries.
Their diaries.
Their audio logs.
Yeah.
I'll go full Bioshock.
I'll show this on Arkham Book, or whatever the social media is.
Yeah, I think something along those lines.
What else?
Because one of the ideas I had for a positive is you get to draw a card or gain a resource. So maybe the tablets, we find some of their supplies or their rations or something.
Or we cut off their escape route or something.
Yeah. Or we find like a map or their plan written out in a book. So we could have like 2 things. You could have 2 tablets, and that's basically like gaining resources or gaining cards. You're gaining information.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the tablet's
like
some kind of information.
Being able to spell the word gain is helpful.
Someone's taking notes?
Yep. We're currently talking about what events could happen on the ship that would represent the different seals and the different bad stuff tokens we've added. So far we have freeing passengers, starting the engine back up, and then also gaining access to either like overhearing the cultists' plan or gaining some insight into what they're doing.
Okay.
So I think the skull is the last one we have.
And we decided that the tokens were going to be negative modifiers, but if we succeed, then we get something good out of it.
Mm-hmm. And they would actually replace, like, a tablet as a -3. It would replace a -3 in the bag. So you'd seal a -3 and put a tablet in.
Okay.
So you're turning a -3 into a -3 with a benefit if you pass.
Yeah.
With like a draw card or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
This
cool.
The Elder thing was actually start the engine back up. You put one Elder thing in, it'll be like a -4, -5, but you remove a Doom from the agenda because you're getting the boat moving again.
Oh,
so there's only one in the bag, but
yeah, I like it.
All right, so Nick, any ideas from you on events that we could use to signify the skull?
What do we have so far? We have freeing passengers. We have starting the engine. What's the tablet?
Tablet. Yep, gaining information from cultists.
Gaining information. Okay. What if the skull was literally like beating up,
turning them into a skull?
100%. I was just thinking about this. This
Yeah.
needs to be printed somewhere. Like when you defeat an enemy, you may seal a -1 and put a skull in, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Just keep it on the act cards or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
And maybe not any enemy, but defeat an enemy of like health 4 or more or something like that.
Or there could be particular enemies on the board that have that.
Sure.
that
Yeah.
text on
I like
them.
that too.
Yeah.
Yep.
When you defeat a brown coat.
Oh, yep, that's what it's going to be. Like the vanilla enemy of the scenario is going to have that text. When you defeat it, you may seal. Oh, yeah, but then where are you going to seal the token that you take out?
Well, what if the skull
is the one that doesn't seal? You just put it in the bag.
Maybe they have a victory 0 or victory 1 on them, and when they're put in the victory display, they get sealed on that.
Damn.
Yes.
There you go.
I like that.
So they could be like the white robes or something. Like everyone else is in like a blue, and they're like.
And that one, if we don't like, because you're defeating an enemy, I'm okay if we don't have like a positive to go with it, like drawing cards or whatever. If instead the skull is like a -1 and that's replacing a -2 or something, you know what I mean? If it's just a slightly better version,
sure.
So it's still the negative, but
yeah, and that's all details we can tweak depending on what
Right.
we decide the bag ends up as. So,
right.
Awesome, guys. We have a really good start on this. This makes me makes me so super excited.
I know. I want to play this thing now.
Yeah. Hey, you guys finish it. I'll play it.
Honestly, that was going to be my line too. Like, I will line up for playtesting, but don't expect anything other than the occasional odd good idea from me.
All right. What have we not covered yet? Like, what do we know? Are we at the point now where we want to start talking about encounter sets and specific encounter treacheries and stuff like that? And
I believe so.
Do we?
Yeah, I think so.
Do we have encounter sets that sit out of play originally and then eventually come in?
Yeah.
Like, how is that?
I think there's probably a deep one encounter set, right, that comes out.
Yeah,
like,
Agents of Cthulhu.
Well, not only Agents of Cthulhu from the core set,
Oh,
but
you're talking about one.
even
Sorry, I thought you were talking about ones that we'd pull in that already exist.
Oh, well, no. I'm talking about. But you said Agents of Cthulhu, which is the name of the Cthulhu set from the core set.
Yep.
So, like, I'm okay if we include that, but I would like for us to have our own deep ones
Yeah, that's
that
what I
are
was thinking,
created
yeah.
specifically for the scenario.
Works for me.
Because then we can, cool. Okay, so we have a deep one encounter set. We potentially use Agents of Cthulhu.
And I think the deep ones set could both have deep ones and also represent the chaos of like the ship sinking at that point. So the treacheries could be
Right. Oh, yeah.
that kind of thing.
So, yep, it'd be like a ritual set, basically, because all that kind of kicks off when that ritual's going.
I feel
All right,
like,
so then I feel like we have to have an encounter set that represents the just tumultuousness of the sea, possibly, or the ship sinking.
Yeah,
and maybe that one gets shuffled in later.
Mm-hmm.
Would that go with the ritual one if they're both getting thrown in like halfway through or 2/3 of the way through the scenario? Like, do we need to? Because usually with standalones you have 1 or 2 encounter sets. You know what I mean? Rather than like a regular scenario where you're mixing and matching a whole bunch. Or do we want to have more than
I mean, maybe the actual singing stuff is part of the ritual set, but then we could also have, I don't have a clever name for it, but just like ocean life set that is like, the ship suddenly tilts and then that's something like...
sure, like seasickness.
Yeah,
and that
like
kind of
that's
stuff.
not necessarily has to do with sinking specifically, but I think it'd be just something to get across the ocean liner flavor, I guess.
Right.
Through treacheries and whatnot.
I think we'd really be missing something if we didn't put in Chilling Cold, because it has Crypt Chill and Obscuring Fog, and both those things, to me, say boat in the Arctic.
Yeah, I think you're right. So...
Because fog...
We use...
Yep, agree. Would we...
So, Chilling Cold and Agents of Cthulhu. I'm sorry, go ahead, John.
Yeah, would we want the cultists in this one to kind of have the same shtick as normal cultists, where they're kind of adding doom? Like, would we use the Corset cultists set, or do we want them to be doing something completely different?
I think we could.
Use dark cults?
Yeah.
And then we'll have a
That depends on the...
I think
also
maybe
have their
both,
elite
probably.
ones, or not elite, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like unique cultists for this scenario.
Like the ones that we can kill for a skull.
Yeah. They'll
Right,
need
like,
their
yep.
own set. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that will... Yeah. That could also have treacheries having to do with getting captured and thrown overboard and all that kind of stuff.
Man, I hate Wizard of the Order, though.
Yeah.
Me too.
Oh, I know.
It's the worst.
Like,
and mysterious chanting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I basically just like the
So maybe let's just ditch dark cults.
Yeah. I only like the acolytes in there.
To be fair,
Right.
like I don't mind that. I don't mind that one in a scenario where movement is really open and free, and you can go address the problems as they come up.
That's true.
But as Essex taught us, if you've got any limitation on movement, then this set is just NPE, or at least stands a really good chance of being NPE.
So maybe keep dark cults in, because I foresee if we're having, 10 locations in play, like the way I see locations being connected, and this might be getting a little too muddy right now, but is like the two top deck, quote unquote, open deck, whatever, locations are connected to the foredeck is connected to the two foremost locations in the next deck below, so you can go from there or to the bridge, and the same thing with the aft, but the bridge is only accessible from the decks, you know what I mean? So you
Yeah.
can't go up from, so it kind of creates like a weird like bottleneck sort of thing, but there's multiple connections so that you can still move around fairly freely, you know what I mean?
I love the idea of a situation where like there's enemies and investigators everywhere, and the only empty location for a Wizard of the Order to show up is like in the sinking lower levels, and he's just down there adding doom, taunting us. Like,
I think we should have one set that's some kind of like mechanical difficulties. So that could be like if there are those kind of connecting locations between decks, maybe there's a treachery that like seals those off, and you have to get past them. Or there could be like a lights out treachery. The lights are failing on a certain deck. Like those kind of things I think could be interesting.
Sure. So right now I have 2 scenario-specific sets and 3 that are used from the core set. The 2 specific ones are basically before the ritual starts and after the ritual starts. So before it starts, we have just like seasickness, we have the rocking boat, we have the cultists, we have everything that exists before shit pops off. And then once our shit gets popped off, then we shuffle in the set that has the sinking ship, it has the deep ones crawling all over the place, and it has the mechanical difficulties. Now, for the sinking ship, because this is actually, like, the way this interacts with the locations is really interesting, and I really want to play with this a little bit. Do we want it to be tied to an agenda, like the burning of the theater? Or do we want it to be... What I'm envisioning is a treachery that every time it's drawn, you have to, like, advance the water. So, like, maybe when the agenda advances to a certain point, then you have to exhaust a location, or you have to put horror on it, or however we're signifying this. And then there's, like, 3 copies of this one treachery in this deck, and every time it's drawn... all it does is say, like, put a horror on a location.
Or
exhaust,
one of the bottom most locations, and if they're, then you move to the next level. Yeah, I like that.
The only thing we would have to figure out is the scaling for solo, where you're not really drawing through, versus like 4-player, where it's like the super sinking ship. So,
Well, it's got to have surge.
sure.
It's got to have surge.
Sure.
Yeah, if
One
it's
of the
just a
few
single
times in
effect
my
like
life I'm going to advocate for surge.
Maybe if you're playing, maybe you have 2 copies in the deck, and if you're playing solo, you shuffle 2 more in.
Yeah, we could futz with the numbers depending on number
Yeah.
of players somehow.
Can I just right now also just veto Ancient Evils?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm fine
Okay,
with that.
good. Thank you.
Having Dark Cults and Ancient Evils in the same
Yeah.
deck is really rough.
It's spelled NPE.
I did. I did that.
Guys,
I know you did.
What if the boat locations were all in a row and we couldn't enter the next one until we got all the Oh god. Can I throw rats in there? I feel like rats just.
Oh yeah, rats gotta be.
I
in
mean,
there.
it's apropos.
Yeah.
Do we want to use the regular rats, or do we want to add them to our oceanic set and come up with our own?
Really vicious ocean rats.
Damn, that was the name of my high school grunge band.
On that note, I think we'll just use the regular ones. That's fine by me.
Now we have a standalone that Wendy actually has justification for being in, because she could be the perfect stowaway.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I like this.
Do we want to get into the nitty-gritty of actually designing a treachery or 2, or is there anything else that we want to cover before we do that? If we do that, I should say.
Let's take a stab at making 2 treacheries. Like, just to...
Okay, Sean, what were you going to say?
Well, there's Overboard. We've already discussed that, and based on what we've discussed, it's like 3 cards long.
That's more of a narrative event than it is...
Right.
Well,
is that
and
a treachery that we want to show up?
That's exactly why I bring it up. Is that a treachery then we want to have in the deck in circulation at a certain point that you could be thrown overboard?
I'm actually picturing it like Poisoned in Forgotten Age. Sorry, minor spoiler for those who haven't played, but it's sitting out of play, and then I think certain things can bring it into play for you.
I like what's the thing that attaches the haunting horror? The
Shadow Spawned. Or whatever.
like it can be set aside like Shadow Spawned.
Uh-huh. Yep, I like that.
I like it.
And then goes to your threat area. Blah blah blah. Okay. So all right, let's pick 2 treacheries, or let's do a treachery and an enemy since we have some unique enemies that we want to design. Let's avoid designing an enemy that has really specific interactions with, like the cultist that starts in the room with you. Like because he's going to have very specific interactions to where he's placed narratively. So maybe let's design a deep one.
That we can kill.
Or no, let's design the cultist that seals the token, and let's design... Someone pick a treachery.
Did I lose you guys?
I heard a bunch of blinking, and I think a lot of people got knocked out of chat.
Yeah, it looks that way. Holy cow. We lost
like-
Nick, we lost Ian.
Like, we lost 12 people.
Grab it.
Ian here with a quick editing note. Thanos decided to take over our Discord during recording and kicked off about half of us. So we had some technical difficulties. I got kicked off for a while, and then we jumped back into our discussion. All right, back we go.
Yep. Okay, so let's talk about let's do the cultist first, because we know we're going to do that. So we have a cultist enemy who is sealing a token.
And I just want to point out that through the magic of editing, we've had a whole debacle where we lost Ian. So Ian will be absent for this little, probably, maybe the remainder of the episode. But that's why he's not piping up for the rest of this design.
He just ran out of ideas.
Right.
Yes. All right.
So how hard should this enemy be? Like, what do we want stats? Like 4/4/4?
I don't think that hard.
I'm kind of thinking like 3s.
Yeah.
Or maybe
3, 3, 3.
3. Like,
oh, really?
What about 3, 1 per investigator, 3?
Ooh.
Or is
I
that
like it.
or is that too easy on solo with someone like Agnes, who's just like, pop?
Well,
But I'm also
if our barometer is what's easy for Agnes, that's gonna color a lot of our design.
That's true.
Well, or any, like, or a guardian who can just run mono a mono. Or literally any 1 damage paying guard dog. You know what I mean?
Okay, I like 3/1/3. Or 3/1 per player, 3.
3
Because, I mean,
3
you
1
might
per
not even see... Like, I want them to be easy enough to kill that you actually get that ceiling mechanic and stuff, but not so hard that they're, like, mini-bosses. And if they do show up,
See, and
like, I want to go get there and kill them. But
Sure, okay. So then, so 3 1 per player, 3. What do we want for damage? 1 and 1, 2 and 1, 2 and 0, 2 and 2.
1 and 1? Is that too light?
Not necessarily, no. I mean, that's like the acolytes just do 1, right? And the wizard does what? 1 and 1? Or no, the wizard just does 1 damage.
I like the idea that the cultist is maybe like halfway transformed into a deep one, so that could justify the horror. So yeah, like 1 and 1 seems good to me.
What does the wizard do?
All right.
Wizards, he's just 1 damage, but when
he just has retaliate with 4.
Oh yeah, but he's got retaliate at 4. That's what it is.
Yeah, that's what it is.
And he also says,
okay, so 3 1.
Yes, he does.
So 3 1 per player, 3 with a 1 and 1 for damage. He's victory. Do we want to? I wouldn't even want to put victory points on him,
0.
honestly. Yeah,
just
0.
as a mechanic, like just to get him out.
Yep. So,
spawn.
What do we want for?
Should we have a spawn?
Empty location furthest from all investigators? Which, if they're spread out, it's going to be, pretty close to people anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I I'm okay with him being weak if they have to
go find him.
Trek after him. Yeah,
sure.
Uh-huh. Sean, any opinions?
No objections. I think that makes it more interesting when we have the artifact, and all of a sudden all the cultists gain hunter and prey person with the artifact. If we've been neglecting to go after these guys, all of a sudden that becomes real interesting.
Yeah.
And then forced
then it'd be
when defeated.
Yeah.
Seal.
No, would it be when defeated or when added to the victory display?
When added to the victory display, yeah.
Or is it after? I think it technically would be after, right? Because it has to be in the victory display first.
Yep.
Let's get our wording right.
It turns out it's actually kind of hard.
Yeah.
Is added to the victory display. Seal. -3-ish? Something? -2 or -3.
Seal something and add a skull. I mean,
I'm assuming you were watching me type
out
it.
The balance of what gets sealed for what is something that just gets tweaked later.
Yeah.
There, we'll just do that. Seal -X, and then what? Add
a skull.
Skull token.
How many skulls could we... okay, so how many of these enemies? Like
I'd say 4. Yeah. So that they show up.
See, I assumed it'd just be 1, but... Alright, I'm alright with this then.
But I'm
yes.
thinking
Alright, add a skull token.
Yeah, it turns like a -3 into a -2 or a -2 into a -1, something around there. You know what I mean? Like it just...
Sure, yep.
Basically gives you a +1 on like 10% of your tests.
Beauty.
I like it. Okay.
A treachery.
So, then let's pick a treachery.
Let's not pick overboard.
Something that's... Right, yeah, something that's not, like, tied to a specific narrative element.
Okay. I like the idea of, like, maybe the ritual that they're performing as part of our first encounter set, or whatever encounter set happens after the ritual has started or been completed, whatever. Like, the ritual disrupts something and, like, tears a hole in the ship, or affects the location somehow.
What about something along the lines of seasickness, where you like storm at sea or rocky boat, something along those lines, where you have to
after you take a move action, test willpower 3. If you fail, take a horror. And then how do you get rid of seasickness?
Well, okay, so
you get off the sea.
Dock at the nearest iceberg. Oh wait,
yeah.
So what I was thinking actually is like a rocking of the boat, where it's just an instant treachery that says test 3 agility. If you fail, lose an action or something because the boat's rocking. But if the cultists have control of the thing, automatically fail this test. So the boat is really rocking because the deep ones are coming up and like rocking that boat like crazy where your agility can't even help.
Would it be, with something like seasickness, thematically speaking, I see that more as like it enters your threat area, and then it penalizes you for acting normally, and all you do is just spend actions to get, like, spend 2 or 3 actions to discard it. Because I guess in my head, it's more like seasickness is something that you just kind of have to, like, just rest until you're better. As someone who has never experienced seasickness.
Sorry, what I was thinking is in the seasickness group would be like a rocking boat treachery.
Right. Oh, okay. So you're not talking seasickness specifically.
No,
you're talking.
like,
gotcha.
Yeah, I could like there'd be 2 seasickness cards, 2 rocking boat cards, 2 whatever. But if we want to do seasickness,
sure, that
would totally be a something. Oh, Rocky Waters is right there below it. I'm dumb.
How about we design? Well, no, that kind of goes against something that isn't narratively tied. I was gonna say, what if we design the actual sinking treachery?
Ooh.
Sure. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So are we exhausting locations?
What about putting a
or are we
resource
just
on a location?
Yeah, so like the agenda pops.
I love the visual of exhausting them so much.
Of like the ship gradually turning on its
just like
side.
traversing the ship is now a different thing.
Okay. All right. So sinking ship.
It's the only point I'm going to
so
fight hard on this one.
Okay.
So when that agenda pops, the first thing you do is you pick one of the 3, or maybe a random one of the 3 bottom locations, and you rotate it. You basically exhaust it. So then
I'm actually
this
going to go grab the
treachery
rules reference to see if exhausting could apply to locations. I'm pretty sure it
right.
could.
Okay. So then this treachery, we have 2 copies of in the deck. Unless there's 1 player, then we have 4. And this is going to be a revelation. It's not going to be peril, right? Because you're not really making a choice. I think that when it's something this, like, it's happening to the environment, like it's, you know what I mean? It's like a force of nature, like peril doesn't really fit.
Well, here's the question then. If peril would somewhat guard it from being canceled, do we want this thing to be able to be canceled with, like, ward or test of will or forewarn?
We could just cannot be canceled. This effect
That's
cannot
boring,
be canceled.
though.
It is.
We could take a page from the Lord of the Rings book and mean to player card effect.
This is one scenario. It's not like
it's too bad that all of the cancellation cards don't target specific keywords in treacheries. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Or rather, say, too bad there's not like an elite version of treachery cards. Do you get what I'm saying? Where it's like most treacheries you can deal it with, but if there's an elite treachery that you draw, your ward of protection won't do anything.
Yeah.
It's too bad that isn't established.
It has to be like a hex or something like that.
Right, yeah. So, peril would guard it from that.
Yeah.
What if it was just that there was no choice involved, it's just peril, like that's it.
Yeah, like peril surge exhausts the bottommost location. If there's
Peril
more than one you
surge
choose.
aloof. While we're just
peril surge aloof.
Retaliate.
Victory 3.
If you cancel this, it punches you in the face and goes off anyways.
So revelation, choose a location that shares a deck with an exhausted location. Exhaust the chosen location.
Then I suppose it would be like a story card or something we'd have to throw in that explains what happens to an exhausted location, right?
I would imagine it'd be on the agenda, on the last agenda.
Yeah, exhausted
I would imagine.
locations take an additional action to move into or out of.
I like that.
That keeps it clean and simple and
Well-
sloggy as fuck.
I think we'd instead of that, it'd have to be like moving out of an exhausted location costs 1. Otherwise, you're spending 3 actions to move out of one into another. You know what I mean?
The first time you move into or out of an exhausted location each turn, it costs an additional action. Kind of make it like Frozen in Fear, where it definitely hits you, but
Yeah, I like that.
So then once you're in the sunken locations,
that
you can
extra
move
action
freely.
is just the moment it takes to get used to the freezing frickin' cold water.
I like it.
Maybe it's not thematically 100% accurate, but it's clean and it'll fit within like 2 lines on a card.
I mean, sure.
I like the idea.
There's that.
I like the idea between
There's card
behind,
space.
Like Frozen in Fear, it hits you once, but doesn't absolutely debilitate you.
Sure. Okay, I'm open to that. All right, so exhaust the chosen... Okay, so choose a location that shares a deck with an exhausted location. Deck should be a trait, so we're gonna... So that you're not like, oh, well, they're both in the encounter deck or whatever. Exhaust the chosen location. If no such location exists, choose a location connected to an exhausted location instead. You know what I mean? So then it'll spread upwards if you're already
This effect cannot be
maxed
cancelled.
Immune
Well, I mean,
to
honestly,
player
that
card
might be the
effects.
easiest way to handle it, and thematically, I think you can explain that. Like, it's the ocean. We're not going to affect it. The ship is sinking.
How can you ward of protection the ocean and physics, right?
Exactly. So either way, however we handle that, I just feel like it needs to be guarded a little bit from everyone just running 4 copies of Ward of Protection.
Are there any player cards that can affect peril treacheries?
Only if you yourself draw it. So if the person...
Oh, I see.
So if I draw it and it's peril, I can still play my Ward of Protection on it. It just stops.
Or you can play, like, you handle this. I could you handle this a peril card if I drew it to someone else.
Yeah. So then, we're getting rid of peril.
This a peril card.
Correct. Because you don't see that card, so you don't know what it is, because I'm looking at it and you can't say, give it to me.
Okay, well anyway, we'll flesh that out later, but somehow I feel like it needs to be guarded a little bit, because the ship needs to sink. Cool. Anyway, so I'd be really excited to kind of hash this out a little bit more with you guys. So hopefully that was somewhat fun to listen to. Julius made it for this one, so hopefully he was pleased. But thank you for that idea. I think that came out really well.
Mm-hmm. It's something I haven't done a lot of. It was fun to do real time instead of chatting over Discord and then missing 100 messages and trying to catch up. Like doing it real time was way more fun.
Yes.
Collaborative game design will always be so much more interesting than just doing it on my own. So I appreciate that we were able to sit down and
I think
do
we
this.
had a good number too. Like 4 people is a nice number.
Yeah. So, excellent. So guys, we need a title. We need a title for this scenario. And
oh my god, I had one and I can't
everyone in the
remember
chat
now.
will entertain entries. Excuse me.
Yeah.
What did we say the name of the ship was? The Constellation?
Constellation?
Bodie McBoatface?
Oh my god.
About
murder
on the Constellation?
Is there... Well, I guess there's a lot
How about...
of murder.
No, here we go.
There's a lot.
Constellation Consternation.
Oh my god.
Yep, there we go.
I mean, sure.
Okay. Well, look forward to more Constellation Consternation as we go through. I have no idea if we actually plan to flesh this thing out, but man, that was fun.
Yeah.
Can one of the...
Lockwood, the stars are made of murder. Okay, guys, well... Oh, sorry, go ahead, Scott.
Oh, I was just thinking, like, one of the places where, like, there's a lot of entryways, like, if there's, like, a main hallway, can be the conjunction junction.
Oh my god.
Yeah, but what's it there
This
to do?
leads to the and deck. This leads to the or deck. This leads to the butt deck.
Well, you know, if you find out, you get a token in the bag, so there you go.
All right, well, let's move it into tentacle time to wrap this sucker up. As mentioned, Ian is gone. So, Nick, why don't you lead off for us?
I will keep it very short since we're approaching or over the 2.5 hour mark.
Well, like 15 minutes of that is technical difficulties, so
that's very
that's not
true.
licensed to go super long, but
in that case, let me add my other 5 things. No, I'm just kidding. I saw Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom on opening night, so 2 Thursdays ago, last Thursday, something like that. I don't know. Anyway, 2 Thursdays ago. And it is garbage. And I went into it with mild expectations of it being okay. Like, I expected it to be better than Jurassic World. But it is unobjectively trash. I wrote a review of it on my blog. I would link that, but I can't get into Discord on my computer. So maybe I'll put that in the show notes. But yeah, it is not good. It is very not good. And people defending it, like normally, like, okay, you can like bad movies and I have no problem with that as long as you can say that it's bad. And I am of the belief that there is an objectively good and an objectively bad. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, there's no denying that like The Godfather is a good movie. You may not like it, and that's fine. And something like Jurassic World is a bad movie. And you may like it, and that's great. Like, more power to you. I wish I liked it. But it's just straight up a bad film. Anyway, let me step down off my soapbox. And the other thing that I wanted to talk about briefly is we wrapped up the Wars RP campaign via Roll20.net a couple months ago, and I posited to the group that played in the Wars game, as well as a few others that I knew were interested in role-playing online, that I would be willing to start another campaign in September and run it through May. And I had everybody vote on settings, on where they wanted the campaign to take place, and we are going to be doing a Middle-earth campaign. We are doing our session 0 in just a couple weeks here, where we get characters solidified and determine what type of campaign it's going to be, and then I will be doing the prep work for our game that will start in September. And both Sean is returning from our Wars game to take part in the Lord of the Rings one, and Scott is also joining us along with 7 other players. So we have a full fellowship of 9.
Yes. So 3 will probably show up because it's RPGs.
Right. Yeah, by the end of the game it'll be me and 2 other players, one of which will have to leave early or something like that. But anyway, I'm really excited to get this underway. I dug out all of my old Lord of the Rings Decipher RPG, so the RPG that was based off of the movies. I dug out those books just to mine for lore and game ideas and stuff like that, and I've been playing around a lot on Roll20 to prep for it, and I'm super excited.
And we all know the movies are the most authentic source. And the best source, really.
Because
Is
the elves
Ian
did
back?
show up to Helm's Deep. No, I think his computer just logged back on when Discord stopped having its heart attack.
Damn, I keep seeing the image. All right, anyway. Like the Lord of the Rings movies, other than a couple of moments in them, I actually do think they're like a pretty good... I have no problem basing my RPG campaign off of the Lord of the Rings movies. The Hobbit movies, that's a different story. But the Lord of the Rings, I would be totally happy if that were the case. Now, it's not. Obviously, we're going to be taking stuff from the books and from the world in general. He is back! Hi, Ian!
Hi.
So,
That's
that's what I got.
Recording?
Yes.
Lovely.
It's not my first
Good.
rodeo.
I just had to make sure. I'm the editor, apparently. No, wait, hang on. We decided it was your turn, Ian.
Oh, God. The worst editing episode ever.
So I will definitely be hitting up, and since Ian is not able to make this campaign due to scheduling situations, which is, a tear shed for that, but also at the same time, I'm okay not having 10 player characters in my campaign. I will be reaching out to Ian. I'm sure I'll be reaching out to you for some lore advice, because while I know a lot about Lord of the Rings, you definitely know a lot more. Or you have at least brushed up on it more recently than I have.
I also love the idea that Ian will show up for one session just to play Grima as he gives us, a quest.
That would be so amazing.
Or Tom Bombadil, right?
Or Tom, yeah.
Oh, maybe Tom can show up.
Tom, actual real life Tom Bombadil.
Yeah.
He's showing
Right,
online. We could bug him.
Isn't he always?
Everyone bombard Tom with "Hey doll, dairy doll, ring dong a dillo," and
so that's
similar messages. Scott, what you been up to?
Well, I've had family visiting for the last little week and a half, so not a whole lot. But Breath of the Wild, Zelda game. Oh my god, I'm addicted. I mentioned this last episode. There's a bunch of gaming magazines that said best game in 20 years, or best video game in 20 years. Like, no holds bar. Like, not best PC, not best Nintendo, just best game in 20 years. I pretty much just agree with that. Like, I haven't played anything as soul-sucking in a good way as this in a very long time. The other thing, which is kind of silly, there's this trivia game online called HQ, and you can win real money, and I'm addicted to playing it. So it's this app, and you sign up and you make an account or whatever, and so they'll send you an alert saying, "Hey, we're starting in 5 minutes," and there's a live host. They're all super annoying, but there's a live host, and it basically gives you questions, and it's usually like 12 questions, and it's a choice of 3 answers, and the first questions are like, "What's the first color in a rainbow? Red. Car. Octagon." Like, it's just like
fire truck.
Like, it's that level of just, I can't believe this is a question. It's like the first 2 questions, and then the third, fourth, fifth, they get progressively harder, and they're very niche. Like, it's incredible. But basically, if you answer a question, you're out. Like, for that show, you're done. But if you answer all the questions correctly, whoever gets to that point splits the prize money. And it's real prize money, so it might be like $5,000, or the Sundays they do $25,000. So if 3 people finish, you split the prize 3 ways. So sometimes there's an easier show. Like, I have a few friends from work that won like $1.33 out of $5,000. But there are people who win like decent chunks of money. So, and I just like trivia. I tend to be good at like trivia game shows and stuff. So, but the hosts are like, I just put them on mute. They say at the beginning, like, "Oh, turn up the volume," because they read the questions, but they're there on the screen. So if you can just read them yourself, you can ignore the awful, annoying hosts.
If you have a first grade education, you're okay.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's funny. My dad was actually telling me about that. He's into that one too. I might have to give that a go.
I should send you guys my friend code, because then I get these extra life things. So what it does is it allows you to,
my way for sure.
If you fail a question, you can use, it's like a one, like if you use my code, I get 1 single extra life. I can use that once during a show, and it's gone forever, to like be like, "Oh, I got a question wrong," well, I got it right. So if you're if you're at like question 10 out of 12, you might use it. But once you use it once, it's gone. So hope you have a lot of friends.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's it.
So, Ian, before I turn it over to you, I have to catch you up on probably the most important bit that you missed from the brainstorming session. We decided that the name of the scenario is going to be Consternation on the Constellation.
Nice.
What'd you think of that? Yeah.
I like it. Yeah. That tickles
Guess who
me.
came up with it?
So what you got?
I'm guessing Nick.
No. I wouldn't have brought us back to it and asked you about it, and then asked your opinion on it.
He just would have named it the episode.
Yeah.
What do I have? I would like to say I have something very exciting, but pretty much all my time has been taken up by the World Cup. And
what?
If anyone follows me on Facebook, they know that already. But yeah, that takes up a good chunk of time, because at least in the initial stages, it's like 3 games per day, and yeah, it's a thing. That has taken up my time of playing games and everything else, but it will be over in a couple of weeks, and then back to normalcy.
And obscure Ian trivia, I can't remember if you've ever revealed this on this podcast, but this was not your first podcast, nor even your second. Your first podcast was a football podcast, yeah?
Oh,
that is correct. Yeah, that is. My very first podcast was this must have been in 2008 for my hometown team, the San Jose Earthquakes.
Oh man, back when podcasts were a baby format.
Yeah, I was doing it on a Blog Talk Radio where you can actually. This is like before Discord and everything, so people can listen in live, of course, and then also call in. So we were doing kind of a call-in show type thing, so people could comment on it. I was doing it with a friend of mine. So we did that for about a year, but yeah, that was my first foray into podcasting. and also my first foray into blogging. I was writing for like 2 different blogs about soccer as well at the time, so yeah, it's pretty much on brand for me that I don't tend to just jump into it as one little toe in the water. I tend to just cannonball into it. So
anything else you've been up to? Did you catch
not
Westworld? You had to have caught Westworld.
I am not caught up on Westworld yet. Just with everything that's been happening, yeah, I still have 2 episodes to watch to finish it.
Dude, that last episode was a fucking ride. I will tell you.
I bet.
Like, even compared to the first season.
Wow, I need to catch up on those 2 for sure.
So, opinions, just like good, bad, not good, like how do you guys feel? Because I've heard some troubling things.
I mean, I liked it. It was a little anachronistic, even by that show's standards, I think is kind of the main gripe with it. But I thought it was kind of cool. I don't mind a show where not everything can be answered and not everything's clear. And you definitely get that with Westworld.
I obviously haven't finished the season, but so far I still like season 1 better from what I've seen of season 2 so far, but I've seen some people really down on season 2, and I'm not there. I like.
Where are you? Have you gotten to the Akasheta episode? It's in the episode.
That was the last one I watched.
That one was so good.
That was the one when I was like, okay, if nothing else, that episode alone was worth the season. So
yes,
yeah. So I'm not as good as the first, but a solid sophomore season, I think. Other than that, I've just been rediscovering my love for point-and-click adventures, which it's always been one of my favorite genres ever since Monkey Island back in the day, but I haven't played any in a while. But then I talked about it last time with Scott about this, it's on my phone, Techno Babylon, which is a cyberpunk one, which is really cool. I'll recommend that one again to play. And then I'm going back to play a very old one that probably a lot of people have played, but I'm finally getting around to play it, which is The Longest Journey. So I don't know if any of you have played that, but yeah, I am playing that one. So yeah, I'm just getting back into that genre because it hits a lot of the things. I'm kind of an old man, slow-paced gamer these days. I just like the story and the narrative and not so much of the blasty, but yeah.
If you like really dark horror, like psychological horror point and click games, you should check out I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream.
Yep. That's selling me by the title alone.
It is a wild ride.
Wasn't that based on a short story?
Worth it. Based on a collection of short stories, yes.
I'll put that on my list. Yeah, I got... It was a bundle because of the Steam sale, so I got like all 3 in the Longest Journey series for like $15 or something like that. So yeah, and I got another game as well, Observer, which is another cyberpunk point and click type thing. Yep. So I have some stuff ahead of me.
Published in '95. Holy moly!
Yeah.
I Have No Mouth, or which one?
I Have a Mouth.
Yeah. I have no mouth. That's important.
Yes, I have no mouth.
Those are two very different things.
I have a mouth.
I
have a mouth and I mustn't scream.
I have a mouth and I'm not afraid to use it.
Oh, it looks like it's on iOS too. Ooh.
It is, like, seriously, if you guys, we should all play it and then just report back to each other, because it is intense.
I'm down for that.
Me too.
God.
Awesome.
My problem is I picked up. Remember last time Matt, or not even last time. It was like 3 times ago when Matt was on, and he mentioned the weirdness of Doki Doki Literature Club.
Oh my god, that game is insane.
No, okay, hang on. I haven't actually gotten to the twist yet. I sat with it for like an hour and a half, just clicking through the banal beginning, waiting for the twist. And I'm sitting here going, like, is this game like all meta hype, like that you just sit through it, and it's just like this trite anime dialogue? So there is a twist. I need to get back to it.
Yeah, I won't say much to spoil it, but I downloaded it soon after that episode and played it. And then when I got to a certain point, I messaged Matt and I was like, what the hell did you do to me?
Oh god. All right. Well, I should probably fire that up again soon.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm downloading I Have No Mouth now. So
all right, I will get it tonight.
It's on iPhone and Android, so you can play it on your phone.
Cool.
Well, then there you go.
Nice.
Peer pressure bullshit.
It's like $5.
It is like
I'll buy you a beer at Arkham. So,
all right, and then I suppose for my part, I went on vacation, which was really fun. If you want an outdoor mountainy vacation, Estes Park in Colorado, can't recommend it highly enough. It was probably the best vacation I've ever taken. In so doing, I bought a new Pokemon game for the road trip because that's fun. It's evolved more than I expected it to. I haven't played a Pokemon game since like Black and White, and even then I got like halfway through, so then I hopped like straight into Sun and Moon. So I skipped a couple generations, and it's pretty fun. You know, it's nice to pick it up for 15-20 minutes at a time and catch some Pokemon. It reminds me what I liked about Pokemon Go before it failed me. And then I also picked up, since I finished Bloodborne with Nick, I picked up Horizon Zero Dawn, the complete edition, for like $20. GameStop had a sale. Had to jump on it. God, that game is really cool. It's got some flaws. Sometimes movement feels like you're running through knee-deep mud, but I can forgive it because the visuals are great. The premise is really well executed. Ian, the main character, Aloy, is voiced by Chloe from Life is Strange.
Ashley Birch.
That's the one.
Yeah,
she's a really cool character. Basically, I'm just really enjoying it. So I'm probably about like 10-12 hours into that, really just kind of exploring the open world. And then the damnedest thing happened. I was working one day and I just was on YouTube. I'm like, all right, let me just turn something on in the background. And I turned on some lore videos for Bloodborne. Yeah, I reported back to Nick as soon as this happened. So I just turned this on because I'm like, all right, I finished the game now. I can really get spoilery and dive deep into, you know, some of the content that's out there. Sure enough, about a half hour later, I was re-downloading Bloodborne so I could play it again. And I'm already through the Cathedral Ward to Vicar Amelia.
Dude, just don't delete it off the PlayStation. Just leave it on there because it's the gift that keeps on giving.
That's exactly right. So I started a full game. I'm not doing New Game Plus because I wanted to see the difference.
Oh.
No, and here's why. I wanted to see the difference because I remember what it was like to struggle through those first few levels. Man, when I loaded into Central Yharnam, I went all the way through to Gascoigne without a death. It was just like, it was ridiculous how much that game just teaches you to be good at it. It's not a matter of leveling up. It's not a matter of what weapons you have. It is you learning the game, and it's crazy cool.
Yep.
Scott,
we got to get you through the DLC.
Yeah, I do need to go back to my regular character and do that. But anyway, Scott, I know you love to like power game and metagame. Like, if you're going to get into an action RPG that does that, this would be this or a game like it. I know you don't have a PlayStation, but this or a game like it would be the way to go.
Well, I'm sorry, but I already have Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, I know you have Breath of the Wild. It's going to hold you for a while from what I hear.
I don't know if you've heard, but it's the best game in 20 years. So...
And that's about it for me. So, guys, let's put a bow on this. Anything from y'all before we wrap it up? Or is everyone tired?
Well, we're not quite at the 3-hour mark. Can we hold out for another 10 minutes?
I knew we'd almost get there. All right. Well, as usual, join us at Gen Con, as mentioned. Join us on our Discord. That is discord.me/mythosbusters. Find us on Facebook. call the Mythos Busters hotline at 203-493-6984. That's 203-493-MYTH. With a, comment, question? Scott, what was your thing? Bitches, moans, or gripes?
Questions, comments, concerns, gripes, bitches, or moans.
That's the one. Call with that, and we've got a couple to catch up on when we get back next time, since this one's running a little bit long, so those of you with pending messages, we will get to them. And in the meantime, everyone just try not to draw that tentacle. We'll see you next time on Mythos Busters.
Have you guys ever played Edward 40 Hands?
No.
So it's really duct tape. You take 2 40s of malt liquor and you duct tape them to your hands, and you can't unduct tape them until you're done drinking them, even if you have to pee.
I don't know why that's hilarious, but
yeah.
Edward 40.
Edward 40 Hands.